Welcome to our Biotechnology Innovation Forum. I'm Moses. Together with Kitty, we are your MC of today's event.
Today, we have distinguished industry leaders, policymakers, and experts gathered here to foster a dynamic exchange of ideas, forge new collaborations, and collectively drive forward the development of Hong Kong's biotech ecosystem and healthcare industry.
And we are honored to have Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation, HKSTP, to host this event in this Grand Hall with the strong support from and partnership from our Hong Kong Foundation and Roche. To commence the forum, let us warmly welcome Mr. Aldous Mack, Chief Financial Officer of the HKSTP, to deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Mack, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed panelists, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to our Biotech Innovation Forum, Driving Advancement in Hong Kong and Beyond at the Hong Kong Science Park. Today, we are here to foster dialogue and collaboration in the local biotechnology sector as we strive towards our shared goal of establishing Hong Kong as a world-class biotech hub. Hong Kong is well positioned to become a global leader in biotechnology. With our top-tier clinical research capability, high-quality healthcare system, vibrant ecosystem, and strong reputation for intellectual property protection, we have all the essential ingredients for success. Today's forum is an important step towards enhancing Hong Kong's competitiveness in biotechnology innovation through thought leadership programs, including insightful discussions, brainstorming, and idea exchanging. 4 thematic panels will take place to delve into crucial topics: regulatory affairs, technology adoption, system and data openness, and incentives and infrastructure support. Each panel will explore innovative approaches and propose actionable recommendations. I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all the distinguished panelists who have graciously accepted our invitation to share their experience and expertise today. Your invaluable insights will greatly enrich the discourse and provide uniquely valuable perspective for all attendees. Together, we will... Excuse me. I would like to express our deepest gratitude to the distinguished panelists who have graciously accepted our invitation to share their expertise and experience today. Our invaluable insights will greatly enrich the discourse and provide uniquely valuable perspective for all attendees. Together, we will explore ways to overcome challenges, leverage opportunities, and shape the future of biotechnology in Hong Kong. I would also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our Hong Kong Foundation, Roche Hong Kong Limited, Roche and Diagnostic Hong Kong Limited for jointly organizing this undoubtedly inspiring forum with us. To all industry leaders, policymakers, experts, and attendees present here today, your support underscores the importance of collaborative efforts in driving the continued success of the biotech sector. I'm confident that by working together, we can create an ecosystem that nurtures innovation, attracts investments, and fosters the development of groundbreaking biotechnologies. Let us seize today's opportunity to enjoy, connect, and learn and forge partnerships with one another. Once again, I extend a warm welcome and my heartfelt gratitude to all of you. Let us embark on this journey together to turn Hong Kong into a world-class biotech hub. I wish you all great success for today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
We are excited to have Mr. Victor Kwok, Assistant Research Director of our Hong Kong Foundation, to further set the stage for today's event. Mr. Kwok, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Biotechnology is really, within our innovation and technology, or so-called I&T sectors, biotechnology is really one of the most important and one of those that Hong Kong has a very distinct advantages, not just because we are so good at academics and research, but also because the fact that we have world-class hospital quality as well as our adherence to the qualities and standards. It has become such an important topic that in both local and government policy blueprints, for example, in the I&T blueprint, life and health sciences, technologies are listed as one of the key industries. And on the other hand, in the China's 14th Five-Year Plan, biotechnology is also listed as one of the strategic emerging industry. And obviously, in the latest policy address in October, the government also stated the intention to develop into a health and medical innovation hub. But within the biotechnology development process, one of the things that we particularly care about or we highlight is the clinical trials, not just because it brings economic benefits. For every $1 invested, according to studies in the UK, it can go up to 7.6 times in economic benefit, as well as bringing about healthcare savings in the public healthcare system. But it's such a promising industry that the global biotechnology market is expected to grow by more than 10%, around 13% in the next decade, with Asia expected to outperform. But however, when we look at the World Index of Healthcare Innovation, Hong Kong is actually only around 12, lagging behind competitors such as Singapore. While we are performing much better in ways such as public health spending or solvency, there are also aspects in infrastructure, access, as well as medical and scientific advances that we have yet to improve. So our question is really why and how can we actually further build Hong Kong as a biotech hub to attract the biotech companies' R&D activities all the way from clinical trials to drug registration, manufacturing, things like that, to facilitate that data access and ultimately, create Hong Kong as a bridge for the international and mainland market. So my role today is really not to give the answers, but to really give more questions to you and to set more background for the upcoming discussions and distinguished panels that we have. So 4 questions I bring to you today. 1, how do we expedite the drug and device registration process? In the latest policy address, the government announced the intention to build the so-called CMPR, Hong Kong's first primary review authority. This is important because we bring innovative drugs from mainland China to the world, and on the other hand, also the global innovative drugs from the world to China through Hong Kong as a bridge. But to actually truly facilitate that regulatory exchange and harmonization, we also need free flow of materials, samples, drugs, as well as trial collaborations. So in our Hong Kong Foundation's latest research report, we outlined our vision of how Hong Kong can achieve primary review in the next 8 to 10 years, all the way from, the government already announced that we will have the 1+ mechanism, which is already in effect from November. So how do we go from there to not just, partial amount of drugs, but all drugs for primary review, for a bridge review, and then eventually to build our capacity for primary review. And on the other hand, how do we enhance that from the regulatory perspective, the international connectivity through not just, being an observer in the ICH, but eventually becoming a full member. And that also requires the whole industry to comply with international standards. So how do we facilitate this process? Second question I bring to you, how do we utilize further both the public and private healthcare sectors to support biotechnology development? In Hong Kong, we have about 50-something hospitals. most of the clinical trial activities are concentrated in 2 of the hospitals, in Queen Mary and Prince of Wales. Now, that has everything to do with the fact that, they have dedicated clinical trial centers, supporting them in terms of personnel, supporting them in terms of, all the other aspects, nurses, administrative support, etc. Now, in the policy address, the government announced that the hospital authority will have a cluster clinical research office by the end of next year. It should be in operation. But the question is, how do we utilize this new entity to actually push forward in biotechnology development in all the hospitals, all the other HA hospitals, and ultimately the private sector as well? Now, it's not just about clinical trials, but it's also about how we digitalize the healthcare processes to make healthcare more efficient, reduce workloads, and ultimately benefit patient care, and also to adopt innovative medicine, which effectively reduces healthcare inequalities, as well as support the broader socio-economic development. The third question I want to bring to you today is how we utilize data to accelerate the clinical trial processes, including patient recruitment. This has everything to do with both the HA's patient database, as well as the PPB's clinical trial database, in facilitating the access of patients to the ongoing clinical trials, as well as how the ongoing clinical trial development can actually accurately reach the patients that they need. Now, data is also important in terms of facilitating that data exchange between the private and public healthcare sectors in order for health data to flow and ultimately facilitate their patient care. Now, I'm ultimately also empowering private clinical research in the private hospitals, including not just patient referrals, but also site management services and support. The fourth and final question I want to bring to you today is how do we attract overseas businesses to complete the biotech value chain? Now, in our latest research report, we pointed out some of the gaps, but in the policy address, there are also key initiatives, such as a $10 billion new industrialization acceleration scheme, which is targeted the setup of production facilities, as well as attracting non-local technical professionals to Hong Kong. Obviously, there are key initiatives such as the Oasis, the Hong Kong Talent Engage, things like the Top Talent Pass scheme, things that are really targeted at attracting key businesses and talents to Hong Kong to actually fill up some of the gaps that we have identified through pilot batch manufacturing, central laboratory, things like that. And the other question is also, how do we do that? Through better tax incentives, for example, R&D tax rebates, ideas like that. Well, without going further, I would like to bring the attention to our upcoming panels, which would basically, discuss each and every type of the questions that we have raised just now. So I don't want to take up more of your time. Let's leave the ongoing, the discussions. I look forward to hearing more discussions from our distinguished panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. With all the context and insight we just gained, let's proceed to the stage program. Presenting on the first panel, we have Mr. Frank Chen, Assistant Director of Health Drug, Department of Health, to share about the opportunities and challenges for drug regulatory enhancement. Mr. Chen, please.
Mr. Mack, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So I need to excuse that I can't be the panelist because I'm the humble listener. So I just want to share what are the most recent drug regulatory enhancement and on the opportunities and the challenges that we are facing with. Just need to recap what the policy address 2023 highlights the regulatory enhancements related to the medical products is on the paragraph 139. It states that we need to develop into Hong Kong as a health and medical innovation hub. And also, the most important thing is that we need to, based on the primary evaluation in the long run. So I think the most difficult thing for the panelists to discuss is, in Hong Kong, we have specific legislations for the drugs, including the Western medicines and the Chinese medicines. But we do not have the specific legislations for the medical device. So how can we move forward to the primary evaluations on those products? And also, we need to have right on the local clinical data so that we can support the efficacy of those products and to attract more pharmaceutical and medical device enterprises come to Hong Kong, and as well as we need to build up our capacity, how to conduct the primary evaluations so that it can be widely recognized by the international jurisdictions as well as the mainland authorities. And the second one is related to the hardware. In the policy address, it states that we need to set up a Biotechnology office for the Hong Kong Center for Medical Products Regulations. And this office will study the potential restructuring and strengthening on the regulatory and approval regimes for the medicines as well as the medical device and medical technologies. So when we consider how we can why on the Biotechnology office of the CMPR to these things, we have preliminary discussions among ourselves. So I think in Hong Kong, we have a long-run statutory bodies, which is the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, as well as the Chinese Medicines Board in Hong Kong. That is apart from the government. So if we want to set up the CMPR, which is like NMPA or US FDA or EMA, that means we need to consider whether the existing statutory bodies is still need to be exist, or we need to have some kind of the different approach so that we have, just like Victor said, we can enhance or expedite the registration processing time as well as for the clinical trials. So this is the challenges that we are facing with. I think the panelists can also focus on these things to discuss. And the other thing is the standards. I think you all know that we just assessed it to the ISH, which is the International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use. For the ISH, I think the most challenging things is not for the government, but it's for the industry. We just talked to the other relevant stakeholders, including Hong Kong local manufacturers. We note that for the tier one, which is related to the GMP, GCP, as well as the stability studies, apart from the GMP, which Hong Kong is already the participating authority of the PICS, and for the GCP, I think the difficult things is we need to conduct some kind of the site inspection on the clinical trials so that we can ensure the integrity of the data. So this part, the drug office and also of the Chinese Medicine Regulatory Office also consider whether we need to enhance these ones. And also for the stability, I think you all know that there are different kinds of the guidelines for the industries to conduct the stability studies. We share with the Hong Kong local manufacturers, especially on the Q1B or Q1C or Q1D or Q1E, which is specifically on the, for example, Q1B is for the photosensitivity drug products or substances, whether they need to enhance their standards so that they can comply with these guidelines. I think this is the regulatory cost if we want to enhance our standards. So apart from these tier one guidelines, we have tier two guidelines. So for the roadmap, if we want to be the ISH members, we need to have implement the tier one guidelines. And then we need to apply for the regulatory members for the ISH so that we need to commit that the tier two guidelines, we need to be complete within 5 years.
And then we also need to have a plan to submit to the ISH that how is the timetable for implement the remaining guidelines. So this is the most long journey for us to be the regulatory members or the members of the ISH. And for the 1+ mechanism, I think you all know that just Victor mentions that from the 1st of November, we implement these guidelines. And also we receive a positive response from the trades involving about 50 manufacturers. And the first one, products with 2 strains, which is used for colorectal cancers, which is failed for the traditional therapies, is also approved on the 7th of December. So I think for this 1+ mechanism, they are serving 2 purposes. One is we can expedite the approval process because in our previous cases, when the drug companies, they obtain one marketing approval, they wait for another one, usually take 1 or 1.5 years. And I have some extreme cases wait for the 2 years. So for this one, if they obtain one marketing approval, they can submit the applications to us so that we can start the evaluations. But for this mechanism, we are now only focusing on the life-threatening and severe debilitating disease because we want to build up our capacity on the evaluations, just rely on one marketing approval. And also, we look into the local clinical data so that we can learn how to see the primary outcomes or the non-inferiority or the comparable results of the clinical trials for the sponsor to submit. So this is the one mechanism for us to build up our capacity and also to serve the expedite approval of the drugs used for the life-threatening and severe debilitating disease. So this is our Secretary for Health also mentioned about that how we can move forward to proliferation is to increase the hardware and software and as well as our expertise. And the main purpose for Hong Kong to move forward to the proliferations is we want to develop Hong Kong into an international recognized regulatory authority, so that we have a roadmap to implement different tasks. And now we are moving to setting up the preparatory office for the Hong Kong Center Medical Products Regulations, which is within 2024, next year. So after we establish this center, we will consider how to move forward to the primary evaluation and the ISH membership. So because I want to listen the insight from the panelists, I just highlight some opportunities for us to discuss. I think we all know that for these policy initiatives, we also serve to bring in and going global. And also for these opportunities, we can also support the innovation, the evaluation of innovative products, which is the Hong Kong base from the Hong Kong. And also we can drive the technology and advancement in the medical products. And also at the end, we can offer new treatments and drugs to the patients that we care. And in this flow chart, I just highlight the 5 stages. For the first one is the discovery and development, and also the non-clinical studies. This is the most common interpretations of how to identify the drug substance or biological substance which has some beneficial to our patients, so that they can kickstart in the non-clinical studies to study the pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics, as well as the toxicologists and pathologists. So in these PowerPoints, I just want to highlight that from the regulatory authorities, we have the regulatory oversight and inspections on these facilities. And also we have some preclinical and clinical studies oversight. But throughout these stages, we have the laboratory testings And also, we need to keep vigilance on this when the products come into the clinical trials and after the post-market. So there are different standards to govern in different stages. For example, in the preclinical, we have the GLP, good laboratory practice. And also when we study the ICH guidelines, for example, the S7B, it states that for the non-clinical toxicological studies on the QT prolongations. It also states that for the laboratory testings, they need to have complied to the GLP. So this is one of the standards that we need to look into. And also, for this part, we also highlight that we have some challenges. For example, we do not have this specific legislations for the inspection and accreditation of the GLP for non-clinical laboratory studies. And we also lacking of the overseeing the conduct of non-clinical studies and also the mutual acceptance of the GLP data. And in the clinical trials, we also have some challenges that we are facing. For example, what are the incentives and motivation for conducting clinical trials in Hong Kong? And the assurance of the integrity of clinical trial data. The industry also shares with us the production of placebo for clinical trials in Hong Kong is a big problem. And also, this is the one that we are facing with is the processing time for the approval of conducting clinical trials. And for the marketing approval, if we want to move forward to the primary evaluations, the most difficult thing is the capacity building and the expertise for primary evaluation. The adoption and implementation of ICH guidelines, even from the regulator and the industry. And how is the quality management system? And what is the laboratory support for the quality verification of the chemical, biological, or ATP products? Because in Hong Kong, we do not have the national or even the accredited labs for the verifications of the standards or qualities of these kind of products. And also for the post-market, we also looked at that in other jurisdictions, they already implement the good pharmacovigilance practice. So for us, we need to enhance these aspects. It's how to look after the GCP, good distribution practice, and good pharmacovigilance inspections. And also, the most important thing is we do the market surveillance. We need to test the quality of the products so that we still have the laboratory support. So this is my sharing, and I just want to throw the bridge to Dr. Jen. I'm open-minded, and I'm also the humble listener. Just want the panelists to share some insights and suggestions to us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Please remain on stage. Can we now invite the first group of panelists to come up on stage to take a photo with Mr. Chan before the discussion? They are Mr. Kenny Shui, the moderator of this panel, the vice president cum co-head of research from our Hong Kong Foundation, Professor Maggie Wong, the founder of Beth Bio, Ms. Sabrina Chen, the senior executive director from Hong Kong Association of the Pharmaceutical Industry, Mr. Eric Leung, the founder of WeCare Asian Limited, Mr. Mark Ma Junyi, the liaison representative from Hong Kong China Pharmaceutical Innovations and Research Development Association. Please gather at the center of the stage. Thank you.
那我们第一场的专题讨论呢，就会讨论到刚才提到的一个药物的监管的事务。那我相信大家呢，其实刚才听到就是我们的卫生署的助理处长 Fan 的一些分享的话呢，那大家肯定也会很感兴趣。那我们台上呢，其实就邀请了4位，就是跟我们的药物、跟我们的医疗仪器十分了解的一些业界的一些代表。那我们听完政府的代表说呢，那我们当然也想听一下就是业界代表的一些分享。那我等一下问问题的时候，再去逐一去介绍他们。那为什么我们今天的第一个题目呢，要定做那个药 物的监管的事务呢？那主要呢就是我们刚才也提到，就是呢我们知道今年呢我们在那个药物的监管的制度呢发生了比较大一点的改变。我们本来呢就只有第2层的审批。但是呢，我们现在在那个施政报告之后呢，其实就说到我们要建立我们第1层的审批，而不单只有这个。其实刚才也提到，就是我们如果在针对一些严重或者是一些罕见的疾病的时候呢，其实我们现在也有一个新药1+的机制，已经在11月份的时候就已经生效了。那所以呢，其实我第一个问题呢，就想问到就是在座的4位嘉宾。就是在我刚才提到的，就是11月份已经在用的那个新药的1+的那个机制的时候呢，其实大家觉得这个机制的看法是什么呢？那我们怎么样去充分去运用到这个的加速的那个机制呢？那我就先请我的旁边就是贝氏生物的创始人王海天教授 Maggie， 那请每一位嘉宾可能说之前呢，也可以先简单介绍一下自己，然后再说一下自己的看法。好 ，Maggie。
大家好，王海天，我也是香港中文大学的副教授。我们的 startup company 贝斯生物是做疫苗抗原设计和疫苗优化，所以我们跟很多的这个 farmers 有很多的合作。那么对刚才听到的很多 initiative 真的是非常的 exciting。那特别是1+呢，也是一个 speed up。那就是说我听到这个 scheme 和刚才的这个新的 center for clinical medical 这个审批 regulatory 这个 office 呢，也觉得就是如果它能够起到一个桥梁的作用，那会是非常的好。就是因为我们不但只希望在香港能够落地因为香港的 market 很小，那么如果能够作为一个桥梁 attract 外面的来香港，那么让内地的去到这个 international， 那这个 attractiveness 就是非常的重要。那 attractiveness 意思就是 make it easier 嘛。那这个 make it easier 之后呢，还有就是，如果这个东西是 common 的，就是说这个审批的需求的这些东西呢，是 common to both sides， in mainland China and in international market， 那么它就会变成 attractive， 因为它就要两边的这个流通都更加的 smooth， 那就并且呢，就比如说，那么就要求说，香港的这个 trials 等等是得到FDA 或者是中国的这个药监局两边的一个认可。那么这当然就 rely 很多我们刚才听到的新的 office 还有政府的这些部门来去研究双方的一些政策，来制定一些这些。对，这是我的。
好，谢谢 Maggie。那就有请我们的香港科研制药的联会的高级执行董事陈素娟女士 Sabina 也分享一下她的看法。
好的，谢谢。香港科研制药联会的会员包括36个跨国企业公司。我们是为港澳居民提供创新的医疗方案。所以我们为大湾区的居民提供药物，所以我们提供香港70%的药物给香港的市民，还有就是我们跟香港政府也聊很多政策的问题，法规的问题，我们也投放资源去临床，跟大数据的研发，我们还帮忙培育香港医疗人才。对于1+，对于我们来说，就是有多一些渠道去把新药注册，对我们来说还是好的。因为过去如果我们把1+放进去，是过去有一些我们不容易拿到两个注册证的一些药品，好像是罕见病的药品，我们现在比较容易。还有就是有一些癌症，可能我们觉得不是第2章 CBP 困难，不是这个问题，是我们有一些病人在，我们希望把那个创新的药品 尽快最快的可以给病人用到。所以一家是我们多一些渠道去选择，或是我们另外一个就是现在我们不但是考量把那个新药给市民，我们也希望香港发展成为一个医疗创新医疗中心，所以我们想的应该比较多。创新医疗中心我们不能什么呀都造，因为香港的资源比较小，市场比较小，所以我们一定有一个定位。我们科研交流联会觉得香港的定位应该是放在临床跟真实世界数据，就是我们说的大数据或者是真研，国内说也是真研这两块的应用。所以一家哪个家里面就是 clinical data， 刚才林峰讲了。就是 clinical data， 这是临床，还有就是真实世界数据。这对于本地业界行业的人，跟本地政府配管的人培养本地的人才，应该是有比较好的一个帮助。或是如果刚才黄博士也讲了。如果要人用这个指导，因为好像是我们一个很简单的解说，就是新加坡它也有第一层审批，也有第二层审批，或是第一层审批的用的公司只有 7%， 7%，为什么他们不用了？就是它市场比较小，觉得不觉得应该投放太多资源去第一层审批，所以要把我们一家还有第一层审批有吸引力。我们刚才王博士也讲得很好，就是我们一定要完善自己的机制，把我们的审批机构专业化、国际化，还有就是有效率。另外就是背靠祖国，如果可以我们的要审批我们的 clinical trial， 我们的 big data 可以给国内认可的话，我觉得应该那个吸引力还是蛮大的。谢谢。
好，谢谢 Sabina。那当然，我们也希望就是香港可以做那个创新的医疗中心。那刚才提到的第一层审批的问题呢，那我们等一下会再重点一点去讨论。那我们再有请就是威康公司的创办人梁志成先生 Eric 去跟我们分享一下。
那我们公司 WeCare 就是专门帮医疗器械的公司去做全球注册的。我们的客户包含本地的客户、中港台的客户，也有国外的客户。我们的客户有一些比较有名的，比如苹果也是我们的客户。苹果在台湾的注册是我们公司拥有的。好，在香港我们也由于不是一个长资的一个注册，但是我们也代理很多不同的公司的，比方说 Hoya、Minicon 一些好像 Merit 那些大的那些美国品牌也是我们的客户。我们的主要的公司的那个工作主要是帮助客户去通过我们一些专业的一个意见，使到他们很顺畅的去拿到一个国家的注册。关于那个加医的那个方面的，其实我作为半个行外人，其实我的背景其实做了20年的药才转到这个医疗器械的注册的。作为半个行外人，其实我都有2个 comment。有一个加医的那个我想是对一般香港的老百姓，病人来讲是一个非常好的消息，它可以加快一些新药的来香港登记注册使用的。另外一个，我想到一个非常大的好处，其实在我做药的年代的时候，我们常常面对这个时候，尤其是我们把一些新药带进台湾跟中国大陆的时候，他们永远都问一个问题：你有没有华人的数据？这个是非常好的。其实，如果香港作为一个比较国际化的城市，尤其一个优点就是香港医生都是说英文的，他们都非常能够把国外的那种有很多甚至于在国外培训的，如果真的能结合起来，用我们的这些，我们虽然人不多，但是如果是做临床研究方面的水平，无论是2家大学的医学大学都非常高的。 如果能够用到那个方面的，可以帮助，尤其是华人的是那些数据，其实香港是非常有这个优势的。
好，谢谢 Eric 啊，非常谦虚，我肯定你其实在这个业界方面是这个一个很了解的人。那等一下我们讨论到那个医疗器械的部分就，可能要再多请教一下你。那最后呢，就有请我们的中国医药创新促进会的驻港的联络代表马俊义先生。好，
谢谢主持人，非常感谢主办方的邀请，我也是抱着一个学习的心态来与各位来宾交流讨论这次。然后首先呢，我也是介绍一下中国药素会，因为可能在座的很多朋友还不太了解中国药素会是一个什么样的机构，它在做什么样的事情。那么中国药素会呢，其实是1988年成立的一个经过国家民政部备案的一级社会团体。那么近些年来呢，一直深耕于中国的生物医药创新领域，参与推动了中国医药创新改革，包括药品监管的改革，包括医疗保险制度的改革，包括整个卫生系统和创新系统的政策性的改革的推动。因为我们的宋永林会长呢，他也是过去在国务院法制办工作，他也是前后2部药品管理法的主要起草者。那么他离开了国务院法制办之后呢，也是牵头成立了这么一个参与到这么一个 NGO 的重组过程中，他也是作为一线的政策咨询者和政策研究者，参与到了中国，尤其是自2015年之后，毕竟全局上牵头带领的这么一系列的药品监管改革的一系列的工作之中，包括还有2018年港交所出台的18A 政策的制度的推动，这我们中国药素会也参与了大量的工作。那么在国内呢，其实我们去年也是经过了国家监局主管副局长的委托，组织了几十家具有代表性的医疗器械机构和企业，包括专家，组成了这么一个专委会。那么这个专委会是干嘛的呢？就是配合国家监局与人大法工委来起草、调研、整理和研究中国药品、中国器械医疗器械管理法的这么一个立法的一个工作。因为目前来说，中国医疗器械领域目前是没有上位法，也就是中国医疗器械药品管理法来指导的，它是遵从于中国药品管理法来出台的条例和部门规章。那么在这个上位法缺失的状态下，中国的医疗器械领域还是有一些的问题和现状都是存在一些阻力。那么今年的3月份呢，人大法工委已经把中国医疗器械管理法的立法工作纳入了整个的立法计划，这也是我们未来可能几年马上要看到的一个重大的变革。那么在国际化的工作中呢，我们在做什么事情？其实，国际化工作中，我们跟 Serena 的 Hong Kong API 一样，我们也是 IFPMA 的这个成员机构。IFPMA 是 ICH 的秘书处。那么我们作为中国内地唯2的可以向 IFPMA 推荐 ICH 专家的这么一个机构呢，今天早上我也管北京同事要了一下数据哈，我们已经截止到目前已经推荐了50名专家，在不同的25个工作组里边，其中有14名组长和12名的候补组长，这是占了整个 IFPMA 全球专家数的53%。那么我们也是作为 CDE 的 ICH 重要的参与方之一，向中国 CDE 推荐了107位专家，在35个 CDE 的 ICH 专家工作组里边，这也是目前为止，这个行业机构向监管机构推荐专家人数最多的这么一个情况。然后包括呢，我们近期也是随着疫情之后，我们中国药素会也组织了20余家企业来到香港考察，也是经过了开业。这个帮忙也是跟这个各个机构和政府部门进行了会谈。那么我们也向大家报告一个数字，这个20几家企业呢，现在已经有4家已经落地在了香港，就是这个团的团员，其中有4家已经落地到了 Grace 这个 ITR， 就是香港科学园这里边。好，这个简介我就介绍这样。然后对于 OnePlus 就是1家的这么一个情况呢，其实作为我们中国药素会的会员单位来说，分为2个方面。一个方面呢是目前已经拿到了 NMPA 的 CPP 的这么一个情况，就是有一批企业已经拿到了 NMPA 的 CPP， 还有一部分呢，其实他们也是在 FDA licensing 通过 license 的方式拿到了大中华区的权益，也希望进入到香港。那么 OnePlus 的出台也无疑的给大家多了一条选择性的通道，就像刚才 Sabrina 说的，clinical data， 什么样的 clinical data， 什么样的真实数据能够用于到申报里面的真实世界证据的存在，这也是我们比较关注的一点。谢谢。
好，就谢谢台上的4位嘉宾，就跟我们简单的说了一下，就是对一加的一个看法。那我们现在就去讨论另一个比较重点，刚才也提到的，就是我们的第一层审批的那个情况。那其实刚才 Frank 呢也有说到，就是做这个第一层审批呢，很大的一个功用就是去带进来走出去的那个情况。那我先讨论一下就是带进来的情况吧。那我相信就是 Sabrina， 因为她肯定就是跟比较多的药企比较了解多一点，就想问一下，就是我们现在要成立我们刚才提到的 CNPR， 中文呢其实就是香港药物及医疗器械的监督管理中心。那成立这个以后呢，其实会对于香港对于国际企业的吸引力来说呢，会有怎么样的不一样呢？
讲吧，因为我们对我们国际企业是不是有吸引力，要看2方面。第一就是制度本身是不是有那个效率，是不是有可预测性，就是 predictability 还有就是 professionalism 专业化，还有就是是不是国际化。因为这4点是很重要的。因为我们药物审配的时候尤其是第一层审配，就是我们很多我们全世界在全世界决策的时候，我们看这是不是快，看这个审配的机构是不是有影响力。影响力就是我刚才讲的第一块，就是我们香港的 value proposition 那个系统的 value proposition 在哪里。如果要讲那个效率就是香港是不是第一层审配、第2层审配，效率也是非常重要。效率除了最重要就是人才跟资源，人才就是 quantity 跟 quality 的人才也需要。在我们很多香港那么多监管的 initiative 都提出的时候，我第一个问题就是问 Frank 问林峰，你们加多少人去做这个事情？因为这不是1天的事情，这是很长的事情，所以人才的培训是很重要。或是如果现在开始要做的话，5年的计划，就是我们如果要有确信去做好一件事情，人才跟资源一定要配套，要不然我们就是空谈吧。对吗？所以我们第一个就是资源在不在，人才在不在。另外就是因为我还记得有个数据可以大家参考一下，就是日本他做的第一层审配最初的时候，2017年以前他们要1年半到2年，或是在2017年他们把人加了30% 的人在。所以他的审配快了9个月，现在平均9个月就已经可以做好。另外往后他再加人才，加来做什么？做教育，就是educate 另外ASEAN country， 所以他现在可以跟很多ASEAN country 做 co-evaluation system， 这真是一个很重要的事情。另外就是我们一定要国际化，我们非常希望香港可以加入ICH， 这是国际化的第一步。然后我们也希望香港可以加入世界的审配的联盟，因为现在的审配的不是国际为政吧，每个国家都是有他们的审配机构，我是这是一个非常浪费的事情。我们现在世界上提倡的是一个 reliance pathway， 就是因为我们看的审配药物看的也是 efficacy safety quality， 就是安全有效跟剂量吧，所以看的东西都差不多。science 就是科学，就是世界语言吧， 大家的水平都差不多，所以我们现在呢就希望把水平差不多的国家放在一起，就做一些审配联盟，我们叫 co-evaluation system， 好像是 Access 啦、Obis 啦，这一类型的联盟都在。他们做什么的？就是可能他做一个审配要看5个 dossier 的 ABCDE， 就不同的国家看不同的 dossier， 然后放进一个平台去参考。那么他们就不需要再重复再看，好像是 FDA 跟EMA 跟欧洲 TGA， 他们已经做得非常好了，根本不需要很多机构再看。所以如果香港可以有机会加入这些联盟，不但是从跟外国的机构去学习，也是我们的机构被认可的一个过程吧。另外很重要的一件事情就是背靠祖国，因为我刚才讲就是新加坡是一个很好的例子，他们有 primary evaluation 很久很久。还有就是他们的 efficiency， 他们答应我们他有个 timeline 的是差不多280差不多了，就是1年的时间。或是有时候我们也只有7%，我刚才讲的审配是用这个途径的。为什么？因为他们的吸引力不够，吸引力不够。如果吸引要够的话呢，我们一定要把它成为一个有价值的审配机构，我们就是 value proposition。所以如果我们的审配可以跟国内加快国内审配，还有就是我们的 clinical data， 我们用的 clinical data， 我们用的 big data 可以得到国内的认可，加快通过香港的话，可以加快在国内注册的话，我觉得这个对香港大概整个架构的value proposition 可以提升不少。所以我真的觉得，如果香港的 primary evaluation 要做得好，就是完善自己的积极国际化，然后就背靠祖国，这2个很重要的方向也一定要做好。
好，谢谢 Sabina。那我们刚刚就从那个国际企业的角度去看，那我们当然也希望从那个本地企业的角度去看，所以就想问一下 Maggie， 因为刚才也提到，就是除了带进来，也希望走出去。那你觉得有这个第一层审批以后呢，其实怎么样可以帮助你们的本地企业可以就是走出国际呢？
对，就是因为我们尝试如果去直接申请 FDA 的。像 medical device 的 approval 的话，有很多unknown，我们可能要去专门聘请一个美国的 consultation firm 教我们那些 tricks， 就是非常 costly 很麻烦。但是如果我们在本地就有这样的一个机构的话，就是像一些 prerequisite， 我们已经先用一个非常 locally accessible 的方法就完成了，那么对我们走出去会方便很多很多。然后也刚才补充一点，那个 Sabrina 的那个，我有一个小 comment， 就是关于人才培养，就是我们那个香港中文大学的医学院，就是我们有这样的 program， 过去有这样的 program， 就是做ICH-GCP 的培训，但是我们的 graduate 呢在香港之前找不到工作，所以都去了上海，非常的可惜。我们每年的 master program 的 graduate 都问我们在香港在哪里找工作，所以如果有未来这样的 office， 我觉得我们 program 的学生还能更多更好。
好，谢谢。那当然，我们刚才提到就是我们香港要做自己的 CNPR， 其实当然也需要就是跟内地的国家的药监局 NMPA。也可能要跟其他地方的一些主要的监管机构好像美国的 FDA 等等，要去多一点的去合作去联系。那这部分呢，就想问一下马先生那你觉得其实香港成立的 CNPR， 其实在哪些功能、哪些方面上面呢，应该去跟他们去合作，怎么样去发挥这个协同的效应呢？
谢谢看你给我提了一个非常宏观的一个问题。刚才我在台下还跟朋友说看你提了一个$1 million question， 是一个价值 100万美元的这么一个问题，没有经过系统性的分析和认真的调研以及大量的访谈，我觉得这个问题是很难正面回答你的。那么我作为一个就是医药监管政策领域的这么一个研究员，初窥门径，那么我可能站在我一点具体的工作中遇到的一些具体问题，以及包括我们看到一些现象，和我们对中国药促会对于 CMPR 的一些期待，这么一个角度来回答您提的这个问题，可能更合适一点。您那个问题实在是太大了。那么首先来说呢，我们在这个香港目前遇到了一些具体问题是什么？就是刚才 Frank 陈先生也提到了，就是目前香港还没有自己的 GLP、GMP、GCP 的认证机制。那么其实大家也都知道，这个药品它监管的是它背后药品研发的这个数据。那么数据背后的一层逻辑是，其实在于中国和欧洲来说，它是要提前给你这个产生数据的实验室或者医疗机构颁发一个资质，你这个数据才能够被监管机构所认可。那么现在在香港就遇到这么一个问题，其实香港是这个机制是缺失的。那么 GCP 也只有 GCP 是经过了中央特许授权的方式，在2006年和2016年针对了4家医疗机构的部分科室，这个是重点，是部分科室进行了认证。如果要有新的科室想要继续做 clinical trial 的话，目前是没有一个法定和常规的路径，还有一个法制接口供我们境外的，也就是香港的，包括 GLP、GCP 和 GMP 去向国家药监局提出审查认证的这么一个方式的。那么其实我们也跟就是那个GBA 的这个黄小龙主任也深入的沟通过，包括他也帮助我们去跟国家药监局的相关科室进行了接洽。那么目前得到的回复是，目前以现在的法律体系内的情况下，是不对境外的机构进行认证的。那么我们目前探讨出来的结果，可能也只有趁着这次 CMPR 的成立，建立一套香港自有的这些 GLP、GCP、GMP， 包括以后 GVP 的这几个 P 的这么一个体系机制的建立。那么在这个层面上去跟国家药监局或者跟欧洲进行共同探讨，如何去接轨这样的实验室的资质。其实在底层我们做了大量的努力，也发现这个遇到了无数个问题，是没有办法在技术层面去解决的，可能真的需要上升到法律层面。除了中央特许授权的方式，我们也是希望能够看到未来香港有这样的自己的一套机制。那么第二个呢，就是我们看到一些现象，就是我接着刚才 Serena 说的一些问题，我来看到一些现象，我也先让大家分享一下，也让大家了解一下。就是建立 CMPR 到底有多少人才能够去做这样的事情？那么这个问题，其实我们在2015年、2016年的时候，中国内地也面临同样的一个问题，就是当时毕景权局长牵头的这个中国过去10年最大的一轮中国药品监管体系改革的这么一个过程中，大家也发现如何跟国际去接轨。当时 CDE 不瞒大家说，当时只有80个人，80个审评员。那美国 CDER 就是美国小分子的这么一个审评中心，它就有将近5000个人。那这个数量级差是太大了。所以当时毕景权局长也是通过了各种方式，从美国 FDA 引进了几个高级审评员，非常资深的华人审评员，回来到 CDE 作为审评专家，不是审评专家，作为首席科学家，包括何如意教授啊，包括一系列的几个非常资深的美国 FDA 审评员，从这样在顶层设计里面引入这样的人才，去帮助中国建立 CDE 的审评能力。那么其实我们也是向大家分享这么一个情况呢，也是在香港 CMPR 成立过程中，可能我们当然我们非常的期待香港的这个审评机构是国际化的、国际标准的。那么具有国际标准，它就要在顶层设计里面引进国际性的人才。那么现在 CDER 和 CBER 应该超过30%是华人审评员，这样的高规格的审评员的加盟，以在顶层设计里边是否能够帮助香港的这个监管机构直接一步到位，直接就国际化的事业。当然，随着高级审评员的加盟之后，本土在培养一系列的这样的 水平梯队，这也是我们啊对，还有一个问题就是我们也是借鉴了美国 FDA 的这么一个管理模式，就是它有一个法案叫普通法法案，就是创新药品注册的这么一个收费的法案，它也造就了这个机构它是一个雇员制的市场化的机构，它不是公务员的机构这么一个部门。其实我们在中国 CD 当时招聘这几个首席科学家的时候，也遇到了非常大的问题，就是中央编办它的编是有限的，它参照公务员管理，它的薪水是非常低的，它没有办法引入这么高级别的人才。那么我相信在香港的这个公务员管理体制，它的薪水肯定是非常高啊，但是我不太了解香港公务员是不是也必须要是香港永居才能够申请作为香港公务员？如果这样的话，在引入这种高级别的人才的时候，可能会存在一些问题。那么可不可以参照美国的普渡法这个法案，就是这样的独立的机构、市场化的机构来引入这样的高级别人才？好，那么第3点呢，就是我们的一些期待吧。中国药促会，我前2天也是特意给宋院长通电话，请教他的一些想法。我们也是对 CMPR 有非常大的期待，就是一定要做成一个高标准、国际化的这么一个监管机构。那么就像香港这座城市的定位一样，就是在这样的情况下能够与中国内地有一定的衔接。那么它的这个 bridge 的功能做出来之后，可能我们新加坡跟我们的比较，跟我们香港的比较，那就是不可同日而语，因为我们背靠祖国14亿的市场，也就是全球的第2大的药品监管市场。那么其实现在每个季度啊，每个月，包括每周，可能在中国内地都有非常大型的会议，过1000人的会议，那么都在讨论出海。出海分2条路径，一条路径是走向欧美这样主流监管体系的国家，还有一条路径就是走向“一带一路”沿线的，我们“一带一路”沿线的这些国家。那么我们也在想象，是否香港的 CMPR 可以借助国家“一带一路”的这么一个建议。也是，当然不是所有的一带一路国家的监管体系都是缺失的，我们也接触过，因为我们中国药促会跟上海合作组织这个牧委会也举行了几次，包括一带一路国家卫生主管部门领导的这样会议。有一些包括中亚几个小国家，它真的是它没有监管机构，它也来通过卫生啊，通过外交的领域来找到我们国内的企业，说你们这个药可不可以拿到我们国家去，给我们国家的患者去使用啊？那么可能中国内地现在还没有做到这一点，就是跟国际上这样的所有的一带一路国家，包括这里边一些国家的监管机构进行互认。那么 CMPR 有没有可能在建立的里边，它没有历史包袱，它是一张白纸，有没有可能借助国家的战略，能够达成这样的一个愿景？这样就把我们 CMPR 的影响范围突然间扩大了非常大的一个范围。这个我相信也是大家非常希望看到的一个情况。谢谢。
谢谢马先生，就跟我们分享了一些实际上会遇到的一些挑战跟一些想法。那刚才我们其实一般来说我们看 CMPR 很多时候大家都会集中在那个药品方面，但是其实呢它还有就是会监管那个医疗的仪器的那个部分。所以问这部分的时候呢，就当然要问到我们的 Eric 了，因为他在这个地方是比较了解一点。那我知道现在呢，其实在我们的医疗仪器方面呢，其实它是一个比较自愿性的一个管理的一个制度。那你觉得其实我们有 CMPR 以后呢，其实对于你们来说是会比较大帮助呢，还是会比较有多一点的挑战呢？
其实这个好处是非常大了。我想是我们从3个方面去看。第一个就是从香港的研发单位来看，这个是非常重要的。大家都可能都理解，我不知道在座有没有人做医疗器械。如果你有一个产品要到其他国家注册，除了欧盟跟美国 FDA 以外，大部分国家第一个问你的问题是，你有没有原产国的注册？这个是非常重要，因为香港没有这个所谓的那个监管医疗器械一个注册的一个系统的话，你没办法发出这样的证书的话，其实香港的研发单位是没办法把这个东西卖出去，无论你的产品有多好。不要说很远，其实原来中国 NMPA 几年前都不承认香港注册的。香港那个自愿性的注册，其实那个系统已经10几年了。NMPA 也是大概3、4年以前才承认的。 现在你进去 NMPA 的那个注册的网站里面看到，原来已经有10几家的在香港落地，还有是香港本土土生土长的研发单位，包括我们几家大学里面的教授研发出来的东西都已经在中国人注册。所以这个刚才说的那个对香港这个自己研发的单位来讲，如果你是有一个很正规的，能够出具一个证明你这个产品在香港是通过一个有规范的一个很有系统的方法来注册的，那就对我们去推广到其他国家是非常重要。现在香港的厂家其实没有很多方法，大部分都是不是去拿 FDA 或者是拿欧盟，其实也没有其他方法。第二个方面就是刚才说了，就是国外的厂家。其实国外的厂家现在来香港也面对一个问题，就是虽然是不需要注册，但是每家医院都会问你，尤其是如果你卖一些比较高风险的产品，比方说一些 implant 植入的产品，那个医院管理局都会问你，你到底在香港有没有做 listing？ 但现在面对一个问题，就是那些医院各自都有他的顾虑，因为你的产品进来，虽然你在国外是有注册，但是在香港人的应用有没有评审过，到底合不合适在华人里面使用？还有在华人里面的有一些产品是有它的剂量的，那到底是不是都一样，在华人跟国外是一样的？这些东西其实都需要一个比较有规范的一个机构去帮我们去评审。当然刚才都说了，这个资源也是需要的非常多的。如果在成立要评价那个医疗器械，因为评价医疗器械是完全是跟药品不一样的，它的种类你可以想一下，医疗器械包括 X 光机到体温舱，到你们用的 COVID-19 的测试，你可以想一下它的科技不像药品，药品是非常专门、非常高科技，但是它非常单一化的，相对来讲当然是但是医疗器械是非常广泛的所以对于那些厂家来讲，如果在进来香港的话，如果有一个比较规范的话，它不需要每一个医院去面对他们的那些技术方面的问题，因为如果是我们已经有一个注册的系统的话，那些已经在香港注册的东西，我们的政府医院、公家医院跟私立的医院就可以很放心去使用。最后一个方面就是从一个老百姓、香港市民来讲，现在我们的所有医疗器械都没有规范的。你可以看到美容业里面现在用的最高风险的玻尿酸，在香港应该是透明质酸嘛，叫hyaluronic acid。这个东西在香港是完全没有监管的，任何人都可以进口的。香港是全世界唯一一个地方是随便进口高风险的植入产品，完全不受管制，海关是没你办法的。你想一下，这些东西如果是随便在市面上面使用，那个风险有多大？所以其实这个监管的那个东西，其实比药品更着急，更需要马上去进行，因为这些东西不但是我们所谓的能不能卖出去，能不能卖进来，完全是关于我们一般市民里面的安全的所以这个方面，我觉得这是除了对业界来讲，对香港一般的市民其实影响也非常大。
好，谢谢艾伟。那我知道呢，其实我们的第一场的专题讨论呢，已经有一些敲死，但是呢，最后还想问一下，就是看一下在座的各位有没有什么问题想问一下我们的4位专家的。那如果没有的话呢，那我们等一下呢，其实也还会有中间的休息的环节，那可以再请教我们的4位专家。那让我们再一次呢，就是鼓掌，就是给我们的4位专家给我们一些很特别的一些看法。
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Donna. It's my honor to be the moderator for this session, where we come together to discuss the critical topic of technology adoption in healthcare and recognizing the value of innovation. So in the realm of healthcare, embracing technological advancements is paramount to improve patient outcomes, enhance efficiency, and revolutionize the way we deliver care. So by adopting innovative technologies, we can unlock new possibilities in diagnostics, treatment, and patient engagement. Today, it's my honor. I will explore together with 5 distinguished panelists on the profound impact of technology on healthcare, emphasizing the importance of embracing innovation and integrating it into our day-to-day practice. First, may I introduce our first panelist, Mr. KP Zhang, who is the chairperson for Rare Disease Hong Kong. KP, a retired executive with retinitis pigmentosa, has dedicated several decades to volunteering for patient groups, both in Hong Kong and internationally. In 1995, KP co-founded Retina Hong Kong, a self-help organization aimed at supporting individuals with retinal degenerative diseases. Since its inception, KP has served as president of Retina Hong Kong and has been actively involved in various patient organizations over the past 2 decades. He has contributed as member of the governing board for International Alliance for Patients Organization and served on the management committee of Retina International. KP's advocacy work focused on several crucial areas, including access to treatment, patient safety, drug safety, medical ethics, and patient engagement. Next, I would like to introduce our second panelist, Dr. Lydia Leung. Lydia now currently holds chairperson of the Hong Kong Medical and Healthcare Device Industry Association. Dr. Leung holds prominent positions, including serving on the advisory committee of Hong Kong HKTDC Electronics, Electrical Appliances Industries, and HKTDC ICT Services. She is also a member of the Industrial Advisory Committee for Biomedical Engineering Program. In addition to her dedication to the industry association, Dr. Leung is the CEO of Belong Technology, a forefront wearable medical devices and cloud-based AI platforms for preventive healthcare and risk forecasting, encompassing sleep disorders, respiratory condition, and cardiovascular disease. Her company has received prestigious accolades such as Red Dot Design Award, HKICT Award, and recognition as Forbes Asia 100 to Watch Company in 2021. Dr. Leung is going to bring extensive expertise and leadership to these discussions. Up next, our third panelist today is Dr. Carol Zhang, Associate Professor for Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Science, CUHK. Dr. Zhang is an accomplished researcher specializing in ocular imaging. Her work spans over 17 years and focuses on the development and applications of image analysis techniques and AI in diabetic retinal diseases, glaucoma, and Alzheimer's disease. As a principal investigator, Dr. Zhang has secured multiple research grants to advance novel imaging techniques and the impact on clinical practice and health outcomes. With numerous publications, she is recognized as a leading research authority in the field of ocular image worldwide and has garnered a high level of recognition in the field of ocular imaging. So we are very pleased today to have Dr. Gladys Guan as our fourth panelist. She is the Chief Manager of Hospital Authority, medical grade. Dr. Guan started her career with Hospital Authority after graduating from CUHK. She is trained as a specialist of anesthesia and intensive care. Dr. Guan became the consultant intensivist in the new Territory West cluster in 2014 and overseeing the operation of the cluster intensive care units and supporting the training of Hong Kong College of Anesthesiologists. She subsequently took up post and the same cluster as the Service Director for Quality and Health and overseeing patient safety issues, implement hospital accreditation and promote the quality improvement measures in the clusters. Dr. Guan further on moved to headquarters, HA headquarters as the Chief Manager in Clinical Effectiveness and Technology and Management of the Quality and Safe Division in 2021 and instrumenting the development of corporate genetic and genomic services. So she leads the revamp of the clinical research ethics management and support medical device program, as well as, sorry, it's a lot. She has extensive, as well as steering the Central Coordinating Committee for pathologists and radiologists, and also mortuary service as well. So recently in 2022, Gladys actually took up the post of Chief Manager of Medical Grade, who is responsible to coordinate and manage the allocation of doctors to meet necessary service demands, plans, and also monitor strategically for grade functions relating to doctors, as well as overseeing the training for the doctors from the perspective of training provision, sponsorship, rotations, etc. So last but not least, I would like to introduce Dr. Carlos Huang, Senior Research Director for Laboratory of Data Discovery of Health, and he is also the Honorary Assistant Professor with the University of Hong Kong. Dr. Wang's main interest is in epidemiology, pharmacovigilance, and health services, using electronic health records databases. Dr. Wang is dedicated to evaluate the effectiveness of repurposed drugs and antiviral for COVID-19 vaccine in Hong Kong. His findings actually appears in influential and highly cited academic journals. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, his focus actually is more on cost-effectiveness analysis and also health tech assessments. So may I start off with inviting Dr. Wang to share, first share some critical factors that influence the successful adoption for new technologies in the healthcare. We start off with inviting him to share adoption pathway for innovative drug technologies adoptions, the listing requirements and framework from local and global perspective. Dr. Wang, please.
Thank you, Donna, for the introductions. I'm very honored to be the panelist and the speaker of these sections. As Donna introduced, I'm Carlos Huang, and prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, my research was mainly about the health technology assessment, health economics, and cost effectiveness analysis, particularly the policy research on the new drugs, hospital authority, new drugs enlistment procedures. So I'm very glad to have an opportunity to share my work that has been done quite a long time ago. Just give you a little bit background on the hospital authority drug formulary. In Hong Kong, for hospital authority, they will assess the enlistment of new drugs through the entity and the committee called the Drug Advisory Committee, so-called the DAC, and they will review all the new drugs. If the drugs are being accepted, being enlisted in the drug formulary, then and also for my research, flashing back to 6-7 years ago, I have been conducting a review on the new drugs enlistment policy in Hong Kong, in hospital authority, and try to make a comparisons with other countries in the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. So as you see at the bottom, that was the paper published in 2018, but it is still relevant to the situation nowadays because the hospital authority drug formulary manual was published. The latest version was published in 2018, so it hasn't been updated for many years. So my comments and all the suggestions were still relevant for the discussions. Okay, and I just give you some backgrounds and factual information on how Hong Kong Hospital Authority will assess the new drugs that would likely to be enlisted in the drug formulary. So first of all, Hospital Authority frontline clinicians will initiate the submissions, and the submissions has to be approved by the Drug Therapeutic Committee, so-called the DTC, and afterward, they will, the DAC will evaluate the evidence of safety, efficacy, and cost effectiveness together with the clinical expert input and other input from the patient group. But the patient group input will be collected through 2 consultation meetings each year, and sometimes they will collect the opinion from the patient group through the ad hoc meeting. And then they will, the DAC will discuss about applications, and every 3 months in each year, they will have meeting in January, April, July, and October. After a meeting, they will make the decisions on the new drugs applications. The drugs may be rejected, and that means the drug will not be enlisted in drug formulary, or the panel would like to have more information, and then the applications will be pending for discussion in the next meeting. Or the drugs will be, if the drugs were approved by the DAC, then the drugs will be enlisted in 3 different categories. So genetic drugs, special drugs, or self-financed drugs. And if the drugs were being approved, then the drugs will be enlisted in the drug formulary in 3 months after the DAC meeting. Among those drugs enlisted in the self-financed item, they may be considered to be repurposed from the self-financed item to the safety net drugs that will be supported by the Community Care Fund. And we can look at the example overseas, like in the UK. So how are they done? So basically, they conduct a very similar process, but they usually will accept the submissions from the pharmaceutical companies or manufacturer, and they will obtain the input from the clinicians, patients, carer groups, and also, very importantly, they will invite an independent assessment from evidence review group, and the evidence review group will conduct a cost effectiveness analysis. They will build out a cost effectiveness model, and they will submit their model and recommendations to the technology assessment group, so-called DAC, within the NICE. And the NICE will take all those evidence into considerations and open up a meeting that will be either in, it will be in a semi-group meeting. That means it will be in an open meeting for discussions. So first of all, the evidence review group will make a presentations to let the group and also the general public and audience know whether or not the drugs will be cost effective. And then they will have a closed meeting to make a decisions. And the decision criteria will be mainly based on the cost effectiveness. So as you may probably heard that if the new drugs has a incremental cost effectiveness ratio of less than 20 pounds per quality, that new drugs will likely to be accepted and approved and for use within the NHS system. Otherwise, the technology or drugs will not be approved unless they have other criteria to support, or they will ask the manufacturer or the pharmaceutical companies to provide more evidence. So, so if we try to look at the situation in Hong Kong and also the situations in other jurisdictions, say in UK, Australia, and Canada, you could see that the differences will be in Hong Kong, the illustrator will be the HA frontline clinicians, but in other jurisdictions, the illustrators will be mainly from manufacturer. For the evaluation criteria, that will be pretty similar. You could see that most of the jurisdictions will look into the cost effectiveness criteria. In hospital authority, they will look into not only 3 principal criteria, the safety, efficacy, and cost effectiveness, but also the international recommendation and practice, advance in technology, disease status, patient compliance, patient quality of life, and actual experience in use of drugs, and views from professional and patient groups, etc. In terms of patient and carer group engagement, and you will probably see that in other jurisdictions, for each new drug submissions, they will likely to invite the comments from the patient groups and the carers and the carers group. In Hong Kong, we could probably see that there were no engagement in carer groups, but they will invite the patient groups to give the feedback. As I introduced in earlier presentations, they will have 2 consultation meetings per year, and that will be the opportunity for the patients to give the feedback for the drugs of their interest. In terms of meeting format, Hong Kong, DEC would have a closed meeting. It's very common. You could see that in Australia and Canada, they also have closed meeting. But after a meeting, if you check out the website of DAC and also drug formulary, they will announce the decisions with a short justification. Unlike in other jurisdictions, they may give report, like pages of report to explain the reasons why the drugs will be accepted and also why would the drugs being rejected. So this is probably the differences between Hong Kong and other jurisdictions. When the drugs were being approved for use and also being approved in drug formulary, the decisions will be publicly available less than 3 weeks after a meeting, and around 3 months after the DAC meeting, likely like the next DAC meeting, then the drugs will, the approved drugs will be enlisted in a drug formulary. So the point to note will be in Hong Kong, probably we may take a look at the examples and the experience overseas. Perhaps we may increase the transparency of the review process by provide more details about the assessment criteria and the results. And you can look at the box on the right. You can see that this is probably the reasons, the common reasons for the DAC to reject the new drug submissions. You can see that just like one sentence, perhaps. DAC could give a bit more justifications on why the drugs were being rejected by the committee. And yeah, as I said, perhaps they may give a more detailed recommendation reports. And also, this is some of the things they may consider to increase the patient group engagement throughout the whole review process. And I think realistically, if they want to expedite the process of the drugs being reviewed and being accepted for enlistment in drug formulary, perhaps they may combine the meetings, the DMC and the DAC meetings. Maybe they may consider to simplify the review process. As you see that in other jurisdictions, the manufacturer or companies can initiate the process, but in Hong Kong, only the frontline clinicians can initiate the process. So perhaps to move forward, perhaps a hospital authority could review or revamp the existing mechanism to expedite the review process and the patient access to have a faster access to the safe, efficient, and cost-effectiveness drugs under HA. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Wang's sharing. You know, for audience and for our reference, the listing framework in terms of Hong Kong versus the rest of the world. So may I kick off this panel discussion by inviting Mr. Zhang KP to say a few words, you know, on his user side perspective, because we understand that for rare disease medicinal products, actually have slowly paved the way being developed, and especially specifically for rare disease community. But in terms of the device, often devices are still a bit underdeveloped or neglected. Just would like to hear KP's comment on that. Thank you.
Okay. I sit here. Okay. Thank you, Donna. It's my honor to be invited today to share patients' perspectives on adoption of innovation of biotechnology. Definitely, biotechnology innovation is the hope for most patients with rare disease. You know, now there is over 8,000 rare diseases, but only about 5% has drug treatment or therapies. So the patients are hoping more and more innovative therapies will come to the market for them. And today I would like to share some hurdles on adoption of biotechnology innovations as I see. Okay. The first hurdle I see is the clinical trial in Hong Kong. Many speakers have said Hong Kong has many world-class scientists and medical practitioners. But as I see, Hong Kong is not an ideal site for clinical trial yet. The crucial point is that in Hong Kong, we do not have a comprehensive and well-organized patient registries. You know, for clinical trials, always the CROs look for well-organized patient registries. We have communicated with the hospital authority and the government for years to establish patient registries in Hong Kong. As hospital authority told us, it has started to build up the patient registries in Hong Kong since 2021, only 2 years ago. Up to now, there are 30 patient registries for rare diseases, including 25 inborn errors metabolism and 5 other rare diseases. Of course, we look forward to more and more rare diseases. We'll have the registries because if we have more registries, that means Hong Kong will attract more clinical trials for innovative therapies here. But another problem is, do HA share the data of the patient registries with other partners, such as the research institutes and the commercial sectors, such as the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies? I have asked the HA in a meeting just a few weeks ago. The answer from HA is not clear. HA said it will share the data appropriately with the partners in the healthcare sector, but I don't know the meaning of appropriate, so you have to ask HA. Oh, the second hurdle is the registration, regulatory. You know, now the 1+ registration definitely is very good news to patients. But on the other hand, we need local data for reference under this 1+ registration mechanism. As I said, as clinical trial is not so easy to be attracted to Hong Kong, so I would wait and see how effective and how efficient for the rare disease therapies with this 1+ registration system. I have been inspired by Mr. Huang's speech, the opening speech of this conference from the NMPA GBA branch. He said the regulators in China is not just like a regulator. It is also a service provider and facilitator. It helps the partners to facilitate the development and registration of the innovative therapies. So I think in Hong Kong, when we think about the adoption of biotechnology innovation, we may also think about the innovation in registration and regulatory framework. And the third one is the enlistment and reimbursement. Just Dr. Carlos Wong have addressed a lot. And you know, the hospital authority takes usually 18 months to 24 months for this journey, enlistment and reimbursement from DTC, DAC, DMC, and fall into the safety net. And you know, if the process can be shortened, can be more efficient, absolutely, it will facilitate better adoption of biotech innovations to the patients. And I would see HA will learn from other jurisdictions and other methodology of evaluations to enlist and reimburse the innovative therapies for rare disease patients. Another hurdle is the funding source. You know, in Hong Kong, the drugs in the public health service all are supported by taxpayers' money. And sometimes we try to communicate, to negotiate with the big charities funds, such as the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charities Fund. But always they said, this is the government's commitment, not the charity's responsibility. And we have tried to initiate some transitional funding support. That means we aim at to fund the patients start up from registration, after registration, up to the drugs fall into the safety net. I said it's about 18 to 24 months. We have talked to the community chest, and after a long time negotiation, we failed because the charities suspected after 18 or 24 months whether the hospital authority or the safety net will definitely adopt these items into their supporting list. So many uncertainties the funders see, so they refuse, they decline to support our initiative. The last one I would highlight is the concept of health equity. Most decision makers may have a mind that with the limited resources, I must help the people in need as much as I can. With this paradigm, the patients with rare disease are always the victims because they will not be considered with these very limited resources. So we need to shift the paradigm. Health equity means we look into and remove the artificial and unacceptable hurdles for access to treatment with the views of limited resources. That's my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for KP's sharing. He actually pointed out from the patient's group point of view that the importance of accessibility and affordabilities and the difficulties or challenges that the patient group actually faced. So let me turn to Dr. Gladys Guan, which is also representing another biggest user side, which is the institutional technology adoption as a user side. Dr. Guan, we understand that hospital authority, they have a strategic plan that was formulated back in 2022 with the core values including smart care and adopting new service model and technologies, etc., in order to improve health outcomes and reduce the need of our patients for hospital care. Could you actually share with us some updates and perhaps, even hospital authority understand that you face challenge. Could you be able to share with us today some updates? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have a very quick response to Mr. Zheng and also Dr. Wang. And I don't have a definite answer today, but I think as a learning organization like Hospital Authority, your comments are well taken. And we think there's many areas that we can improve, and definitely what we heard today is the area that we can focus in the coming future. And also the Hospital Authority that we are committed to support the innovation and also embracing the technology. So for the audience who may not know what is Hospital Authority, that has been mentioned so many times this morning. So I would like to share with you, we are a public organization. We provide the majority of the public health care to our Hong Kong population. So we run 43 hospitals and more than 120 clinics. And you can imagine the amount of clinical data for the past 25 years. Those are very valuable for researchers, for developers, or for those who are interested to contribute to the future developments of the healthcare. So we have very unique, we call the clinical management system. It's very special because we have this system that can connect every hospital, every clinic, and every institution with one single system. I think this is one of the major achievements we had in the Hospital Authority, because if you compare to the other organization or in other part of the world, most of them will use their self-developed or some by vendor or with some tailor-made. But this one is by our IT team who have tried their very best to fit the needs of the organization. So just like Donna mentioned, the CMS, we are driving for paperless, protocol-driven, and also personalization. And of course, patient-centered is one of our aims. And we also need to have a closed loop because, we have almost 500,000 employees. So that we have to communicate, not only doctors, but we have to work with our nurses, our other health, and even sometimes with our private organization. And so make this system very important. This one. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is not smart for me. And you may be aware that we are having the smart hospital now in Hong Kong. Mainly we focus on 3 hospitals with different scale. The beauty is that we can try out some products in this hospital and then get the feedback. And if it works out, we can have the opportunity to roll out to other hospitals. And I would like to share one of the examples that we had. So this is AI model development, and we collaborate with our local university. So if you check our website in the Hospital Authority, the Health Informatics in Information Technology, they have the Innovation Office. And under that, we have the Data Collaboration Lab. So one day, one of the researchers in the university And I believe he's a radiologist. So he deep into the data and tried to find out how to check, not miss this important type of fracture. Because as you know, the presentation will be quite different, and sometimes it's quite difficult to see on the X-ray, even in a very experienced eye, especially in a very busy work environment. So he used the data and he came up with some of the suggestions, and then our team think that the suggestion actually is feasible. And subsequently, they decided to work on it. Now they have this AI model that which not only help our emergency medicine colleagues and also our orthopedics colleagues, because the AI as a clinical decision support tool can help a decision to early pick up the lesion and can suggest if there's any doubt, we may proceed to another investigation. Of course, we aim is to prevent any mortality and mobility of a patient by not missing any important, or sometimes it's very minute abnormality. So I think this is one of the examples that we endorse or embrace the technology in our clinical setting. And of course, I hope you are familiar with our branding, our HA Go, and I'm sure some of you may have used it. And I would say that what you have a look at here, we have the teleservice, the telehealth, also the drug delivery especially is used in the COVID period, which I think have benefit for those who cannot leave the house being quarantined at home. And also we now share the information in the lab, the laboratory result, so that patient actually can be empowered, that they can take charge of their own health, familiar with the information, and then understand what the management or the treatment means. So I think responding to Donna's question, this is only part of the example that I think it definitely not only improves the health outcomes of the patient, but as a clinician or as a healthcare workers, we are happy to see that a lot of different gadgets that actually help our clinician to incorporate in our workflow daily. One thing I think the most difficulty is how to engage our colleagues to use it, because everyone has their workflow. And just by changing to electronic doesn't mean it's technology or innovation. Sometimes you need to change the workflow to maximize the adoption of the technology. And it takes time. But I think with the support from the government and also from a senior direction from our management, so adopting this is, I think, is a process, and we always support it.
Thank you, Dr. Guan. And after learning the perspective for both community, which is from KP, and also the institutional users' perspective, I would like to explore from the innovators and developers' point of view. May I invite Dr. Lydia Leung to comment, as a practitioner and as a chairperson for Hong Kong Medical Device Association, what are the top challenges for driving medical technology adoption in Hong Kong? Can I get your insight?
Yeah, I think today's panelist is a very comprehensive one, especially from our association point of view, because our association mission is that we'd like to help the practitioner, our industry, who are in the medtech field, and how to bridge the gap between the end user and the stakeholders, from the innovators and also the manufacturing. Like I think in previous panel section, Dr. Chen has shared that for drugs development, it is a long journey. Indeed, it is the same for medtech and medical devices, from R&D to prototyping, manufacturing, and finally clinical study, then through the regulatory, then to the market. So a very important point that we'd like to share is very important. We need to beginning with the end in mind. So why I say today panelists is very comprehensive, because we have different stakeholders, from doctors who are using the medical devices, and also the patient group who are really benefit from new technology. And it is important and easier for innovators to succeed is that if we know the needs and how they finally will make use of the medtech, both by the medical professionals and also the patient. Because what we need is not only new technology. What we need very important is whether it is user-friendly. And usually whenever you see there is any medical incident, usually it's not the problem of the device, but finally is how the device is used. So that's why today is in the regulatory, they emphasize a lot in UI, UX. But for UI, UX, without involving the end user, which include both the medical professional and the patient, there's no way for our MedTech to innovate. So it's very important, that is the reason why our association also try our best to get all the involvement of different stakeholders in this whole MedTech technology. So finally, when the technology is not only innovated, when it is successfully deployed to the end user, it is really benefiting the whole community and especially expedite the workflow of medical professionals, at the same time bringing health to the patients.
Thank you so much for your insight for setting up this inter-departmental or actually cross-group collaborative model. Actually, yeah, I would like to also turn the time to talk to Dr. Carol Jiang. I understand that you're currently leading a research team to deploy AI algorithms into hospital authority hospital in Hong Kong to enhance eye disease screening, and then triaging and also referral pathway for timely eye disease treatment. Do you mind share the critical factor that influence this successful adoption for these new technologies into the healthcare industry?
Yeah, thank you, Donna, for the question. So I think before we our team, before we develop such AI models, we first identified a critical problem. What is the clinical problem right now? So what we want to see is early detection, timely treatment, and to minimize visual loss from patients. So this is what we want to do. So currently, I think there's no good system for early identification of eye diseases because most of the time the eye disease are asymptomatic. I take glaucoma as an example. So more than 90% in Korea and in Japan, the patients are undiagnosed until they are at very late stage. And at that time, actually the vision is irreversible. On the other hand, there's another big gap is we receive lots of non-referable eye diseases, which means that those cases, they don't need to see an ophthalmologist. I take another example, diabetic macular edema. So in Hong Kong, we have a very good program called RAM program. They have annual screening to screen for diabetic retinal disease. However, using fundus photograph to detect one of the diabetic retinal disease called diabetic macular edema it causes high false positive rate. So which means that there's a lot of high positive cases sent to tertiary eye hospital. So that wastes a lot of time for our ophthalmologists. And that's why we want to deploy, we develop our model that can tailor different clinical gaps in this kind of field. Early detection for timely treatment, and also to filter out false positive cases in order to allow the safe doctor staff and also maximize the resources for benefit our patients. So the critical factors we are facing, there's several. First, the development, or currently we are conducting pilot study and conducting clinical trials are based on our competitive grant fundings. We did not receive any support and fundings from HA, to be honest. So I think we would like to seek support from HA in terms of funding, and we hope that from our current ongoing grant projects, we can demonstrate this is cost effective, this is safe, this is this is efficacy and this is feasible, and this can integrate in the clinical workflow and to speed up the clinical workflow to help all the stakeholders for everyone. And we also see some critical factors, for example, the IT infrastructure. I think right now, I'm very happy to listen Dr. Guan, what she shared about the AI model, but I think this is just one part of in the field. For example, in the ophthalmology, the AI development is rapidly developed because eye is a very special organ. There's lots of images, and the images are very easy to capture. Not just in tertiary eye hospital, it can also be taken in primary care center, district health center. So in order to screen for eye diseases at a early stage for patients in need. So I think that this one, I hope that HA can take more initiative to talk to us, or we can, there's a clear channel that we can know where we can talk to, that we can share our technologies to benefit different shareholders. And last but not, I just talked about IT infrastructure. I think currently AI is developed very rapidly again. So I think I would suggest HA to put more resources on the development of AI. So particularly the infrastructure, we may have more security issue, or also that upgrade of the existing AI algorithm. For example, there's incremental learning that can upgrade the existing AI algorithm, etc. So I think due to the time limit, I have to stop here. But I would like to, I'm very open and hope to work closely with HA and different associations to hope that Hong Kong can be a really a biotech hub to face back to China, but face to international. We have great potential to doing that.
Thank you so much. So just now, because of time concern, we actually explore the critical factors in all, both user sides and also the developers, inventors sides, the critical factors of how to enhance technology adoption. Because of time limit, but I still want to explore the next round, which is about the commercialization. How do we accelerate commercialization and enhance sustainability? So I would like to have a chat with Dr. Guan. I think because you guys are the biggest user group, that's why we have so many requests actually from the floor to HA. But I would like to understand the technology adoption pathway in HA. So we understand that just now you mentioned about the HA AI lab. So is there is there a pathway for different stage of life science technology companies so that they could actually just kind of a pathway for them to follow?
I'm glad that I'm not alone here from HA. Actually, a close collaborator from IT, he's the next panelist. All your point, especially by Dr. Chen, he's well taken, I'm sure. I can say on behalf of him. Yes, and he will contact you later. I think for most of the technology, for life cycle, I think the hospital authority is a very big organization. So if you have, for example, you know that we just have an agreement with the Hong Kong Science Park to have the self-service data platform. So if you already try that services, maybe you have some idea. Actually, we have if I'm correct, we have the Innovation Lab, the AI Lab, and Data Collaboration Lab. So for those who already have some prototype of that product, actually there's a portal there for you to put it there, because our colleagues, if they're interested, they can go there to find any solution that, just like Lydia said, that can solve their clinical problems. So also we have a webinar section, and we invite some manufacturers to explain their products, so that if there are match or some users are really interested, our colleague actually will line up for further discussion. Maybe some modification, maybe there's more element to be included. Maybe we engage our users, especially our frontline doctors, nursing, because we are multidisciplinary. And also, we won't want to adopt one technology, but affecting the workflow of the others. So actually, the process is going on. And I think we have started a good collaboration with Hong Kong Science Park. So this is another part that for those who are interested for startup company, that you could seek the help from Science Park, and then we are always here to listen and always to support. And I think the sustainability, and I don't have a question because we have a lot of patients in HA, and we not have a lot of caseload here. So that's why if there's any solution or any product or medical device that benefit to the patient or the Hong Kong whole population, and we are willing to adopt and willing to speed up the process.
Okay, maybe because of time concern, I would like to hear from Dr. Wong's final comment that just now we explore the possibilities or the idea of having this interdisciplinary group so that, you know, for Lydia's comments that maybe for inventors' point of view, with early engagement with the patient group so that it starts from the end. To consider when they design the product. So, you know, would like to hear your comments. What do you think about this type of interdisciplinary work, and will that actually enhance the acceleration and also the sustainability of the technology adoption? May we hear your comment?
Yes, in order to accelerate the adoptions or commercializations of the product, probably as you said, we need to have a collaborative approach. So the collaborators could be from the academics, from the patients, from the industry players, and from all sides to work together in order to speed up the process. Through the process that the stakeholders could exchange the knowledge and also the skills they have learned, and that will be very important for to accelerations of the product for the patients in place for use.
Okay, thank you very much. Because of a time constraint, I understand that maybe you have a question on the floor. Welcome to use our QR code to scan your questions. We will try to connect with the panelists today to answer the questions respectively. Yeah, and thank you so much. And then sorry for a bit of the overrun because we have a very diverse group here, and I hope you can get some insight out of this this panel. Thank you so much. And would like to invite all the panelists to take a group photo before we move on to the next session. Thank you.
And we will kickstart this panel with Dr. Chai's presentation first. Dr. Chai, please be seated, our beloved guest. Shall we start with your presentation? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. So thanks all the distinguished guests. I think I will use Chinese to present my report because to better explain those policies to govern the data utilization. Okay. In last year, we developed a report which is called 中国数字健康发展报告。然后这个报告呢是跟国内2个比较大的协会和联盟一起来这个写的。那么主要的这个工作呢，就是因为我们现在在整个数字健康领域，下一步如何更好的去共享和应用好这个我们的健康医疗的数据，其实现在是有很多的这个需要去做的工作啊。那么首先呢，我想从现在整个国家的宏观环境开始讲起。我们都知道，这个国家现在非常强调来推进我们的数据利用和这个分享过程当中的基础制度的这个建设。 希望呢就是构筑汉劳我们整个数据经济发展的基础啊。那么在去年的年底呢，就是国家中央呢就是出了数据20条，我们就把它简称为数据20条。数据20条当中呢，有2个非常重要的政策啊。那么第一个政策呢，就是关于数据权属，它做了3个层面的分治啊，就是把数据的这个所有权啊、数据的加工使用权和数据的产品经营权啊这3个权利啊进行分治啊。那么也就是用简单的理解呢，就是把数据的所有权和使用获益权啊，把它分开来了啊。这为推动后续的很多的这个工作，包括数据的加工啊、使用啊、这个做产品啊等等啊，提供了一个非常好的这个基础的制度。那么第二呢，就是提出鼓励使用创新技术的手段。来推动个人信息的匿名化的这个处理，然后再推动相应的这个应用。那么这是我们讲的非常重要的一个政策文件。那么在今年的早些时候，在两会，也就是我们就是中国的人大人民代表大会和这个政治协商会议两会召开之前呢，中央就是发了数字中国建设的整体布局规划啊。那么在这个整体布局规划当中呢，特别提到了要推动数字技术和实体经济的深度融合，在医疗等重点领域加快数字技术的创新和应用啊。然后呢，又提到要构建普惠的、便捷的数字化的这个社会啊，并且呢，要发展数字健康。所以呢，在两会的时候呢，因为有着整体的规划的铺垫，就提出了相应的机构的改革，要组建国家数据局来协调统一相应的这个工作。那么这是第一个。那么我们回过头来谈到，在整个我们现在的健康和医疗大数据的这个未来应用的前景上面。其实我们知道，中国的社会经济发展的那么快，那么对于健康医疗的大数据的应用提出了非常高的这个需求啊。一方面就是无论是从国家还是从健康，我们讲的健康中国啊，健康中国2030的整体大的规划来讲，对于这些疾病的负担如何能够有效的减轻，如何能进行全人群的全生命周期的我们的健康管理和疾病管理。其实是有非常大的预期的。那么第二个，我们整个人口结构也随着时间的这个推进在进行调整，老龄化社会在不断的这个加深，所以在这样的这个前提条件之下呢，就大家都是非常关注如何这些健康医疗大数据以及素质健康的这些工作能够更好的、更快的这个推进。所以我们看这个整个 progress 来说，我们看国内的各个地方，现在已经有25个省和直辖市已经发布了推动数据共享和应用的地方性的法规，已经有7000多家2级以上的公立医院接入了各个地区的全民健康信息平台。因为我们知道，在各个省和各个市现在都已经有比较好的这个全民健康的信息平台了。那么相应的这个医院都已经把他们一些重要的这个数据和信息都已经介入进去了。那么第三呢，就是2200多家3级医院，现在呢就是已经初步实现了院内信息的互享和共通啊。那么这是一方面的情况。那么第二方面的情况呢，就是各个省，大家可以看到，在山东省是明确要求政府把建立医疗健康大数据这个去确立一个共享开放的机制。那么在广东和四川省呢，都已经发布了健康医疗数据应用的相关的指南。我待会儿也会讲到四川的这个案例。那么在海南省呢，他们是特别支持数字疗法的产品。企业的包括创新以及应用就是从研发、从设计、从临床研究到最后的这个上市应用，以及现在也在积极的探索如何做好支付的这个报销的相关的这个问题。 那么同时呢，我们又看到在上海、在北京、在深圳有大量的数字医疗健康的企业涌现出来了，而且呢，还有很多的这个数据安全的技术企业，这个创新企业啊，科学家回来，很多的这个数据科学家现在都是往这个数据安全的这个方向在走，为我们未来更好的应用提供了很多好的这个技术的工具啊。那么我们看呢，就是说结合刚才这几张这个 PPT，我们中国现在已经有了一个非常好的法律制度和政策制度，也就是我们刚才讲的数据20条和3法1条例。大家都知道3法1条例包括我们的网络安全法、我们的数据安全法、我们的个人信息保护法，以及我们的关键信息基础设施的保护这个条例。那么我们可以看到，我们3法1条例其实跟欧盟的 GDPR 有非常多的这个相似之处啊。从原则和精神上面来讲呢，第一个呢都是非常注重个人信息的、个人隐私的保护啊，这是第一个。那么第二个呢，就是都非常注重数据的这个权属啊。那么同时呢，我们可以看到，在一方面是要加强安全合规啊、隐私保护的这个前提之下，另外一方面也要去推进相应的这个应用。所以欧盟呢，从2022年开始，就推动了一个叫 EHDS 的这个 initiative，也就是Europe Health Data Space 欧洲健康数据空间。那么这个欧洲健康数据空间呢，其实它是为了让各个成员国，欧盟的各个成员国，可以把他们的这个 health data 能够汇聚起来，能够更好的去进行融通和应用，特别是已经沉淀的医疗数据的2次使用2次利用的这个工作。那么同时呢，我们可以看到中国的这个政府也在做很多的工作我们很多地方政府授权监管之下，国资来出资建设，然后地方的这个主导运营的这个团队来参与地方的这个医疗大数据中心相应的这个建设。那么当然呢，我们可以看到当中有一个稍微有点 special 的，就是美国的 HIPAA 的这个隐私规则它就是主要关注于医疗数据利用过程当中的个人数据隐私的这个保护。然后呢，在美国相对来说，这个数据的这个保护和使用是比较的这个专业化和这个市场化的方式来开展的。它明确呢就是明确的去标识的这些这个health data 呢是可以被用于科研和产品的这个开发应用的。对。那么在整份报告当中呢，其实我们提出了一系列的工作建议。那么当中呢，我挑几个跟大家来汇报一下。那么第一方面呢，我们谈的是这个提质量第二方面谈的是强管理，第三方面呢是如何利用现在的这个 data technology 来推进这个当中的使用。那么第一个方面呢，我们主要想讲的呢，就是如何建立一个平台，能够促进数据的互联互通和这个共享。然后同时呢，在这个平台当中呢，你必须要有标准的这个供给。所以不同的这个数据源、不同的这个格式源能够汇聚到一起来进行使用，同时呢做好这个安全合规的这个工作。那么我们这里举了一个例子，就是刚才讲的欧洲的 EHDS 当中，它有一个叫做 Darwin EU。那么这个 Darwin EU 呢，它是EMA 牵头，然后邀请了40多个合作伙伴，包括有这个医疗机构、有药械公司，也有这个算法公司来共同这个推进那么他们的目标是在后年，就是25年的年底，有100个 observational study 的这个项目能够展示出它的这个成果出来那么同时呢，它采用了一个协调中心。也就是大家所有的这个数据都可以在不出狱的情况下去执行你的研究的方法，然后把你的研究的这个结果汇报到这个协调中心，从而确保数据的这个安全性。 然后同时呢，它也用了这个 OMOP 这种通用语言的模型通用数据模型，这个也是 IQVIA 参与的相应的这个工作，能够使得这个来自于不同的这个标准的数据源，能够在统一的这个结构格式和这个术语的前提下，来推进这个研究和数据的一些这个使用工作。所以呢，我们也是跟相关部门开了很多的这个研讨会，跟他们探讨如何在一些工作当中更好的去推进标准的供给，更好的推进这个数据在一些平台当中可控的这个互联互通和共享使用那么第二个方面呢，就是强管理，我们这里主要提出的是希望能够在各个地方加快数据的这个分级分类的这个工作这里面我们可以看到四川省有一个非常好的案例，因为四川省是中国人口比较多的一个省份之一所以如何的利用好他们省的这个 health data，同时呢也是能够鼓励好这个省的医学研究和很多的研发的这个工作，他们想了很多的这个办法。然后呢，现在他们做出来的一个分级，就是他们把整个 health data 根据数据的这个敏感性分成了5个级别那么在第1级当中呢，就是指出在个人不包含个人敏感信息或已经这个进行脱敏的一些这个病例数据当中，可以不设前置条件去进行这个使用。但是呢，在第4、第5级包含敏感信息的情况下，需要进行严格的授权和这个审批下才能够去进行这个使用。那么我们也在这个研究过程当中做了相应的案例的探讨，比如说有一家肿瘤研发的这个企业，他们希望去开展一个对于 efficacy 和 safety 的这个研究性的项目。所以呢，这个企业它在调用相应的数据的时候，第一，它是调用了已经脱敏的，就无法关联到个人的这个数据。第二呢，这些数据呢也不涉及到我们讲的人类遗传资源所以在这样的情况下呢，还配套了就是就是当地卫生主管部门认可的隐私安全的这个计算平台。所以在这样的这个计算平台下面呢，你就完全无法，就是你相对性的这个完全无法的关联到个人的这些数据是无法关联到个人的。所以尤其是在这个脱敏的数据的情况下，这些数据就是被允许去没有前置条件的开展相应的这个研究工作，这也加快了企业在这方面上面的一些这个研究。那么最后一个就是我想谈的，就是在湖北省的一个城市，它叫宜昌。它跟我们的这个隐私安全的这个企业共同推动了一个关于就是我们整个隐私安全的平台。这个平台在过去的几年当中发挥了重要的作用。尤其是在对于一些这个疾控的相应的这个数据的这个处理和利用上面发挥了重要的作用。那么这个 health care data 再加上一个隐私安全的计算的这个平台，现在呢就是在制定相关的一些管理的规则，也希望未来能够向这个社会去进行这个开放，能够让社会利用这个平台参与到很多的研究工作当中去。对，这是我汇报的几个方面请大家批评指正，谢谢。
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. I have the pleasure to work with Dr. Tsai earlier this year for this report. I was always impressed by the hundreds of stakeholders that they interviewed to come up with all these recommendations. So although it's titled as the recommendation for digital health development in China, but I think a lot of these recommendations also are applicable in Hong Kong as well. Now I have this distinguished panel here today. I want to turn my first question to Mr. Dennis Lee. Mr. Dennis Lee is a senior system manager at the hospital authority. I think in one of Dr. Tsai's presentation, talk about many of the scenarios that biotech innovation may benefit from data openness. I just want to ask you like a very simple scenario. You know, today we're talking about a clinical trial, and before even we talk about the operation, execution part of the clinical trial, we have to make the decision. A company have to make the decision first to put a clinical trial in Hong Kong. And for them to do that, they have to do feasibility testing, including the capability of the trial and also, most importantly, the patient sample size in Hong Kong, in the hospital, or even the patient with particular investigator. Currently, the industry can only make educated guess when it comes to the patient size, how many patients on certain disease or on certain treatments. I would like to seek your opinion in terms of how can we facilitate this in the hospital. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So I think actually the hospital authority does have a lot of data, as previous panelists said. We have 30 years of data, clinical data, and also we do have a lot of data actually, collecting from the clinical operations. Like a lot of chronic disease patients, we have about 20-something focused chronic disease patients that we look into. But of course, in terms of some rare disease data, we may need to, also collaborate with other, countries to help. So I think this is actually a good move, I think, for the biotechnical company to basically start the clinical trial in Hong Kong. I think it's also a win-win-win situation, also for the government to have more business actually from biotech. And also for hospital authority, I think our audience is actually trying to benefit the patient. So if there are more clinical research in Hong Kong or biotech, definitely there will be more drugs available for our patients, and then there will be also benefit the HA service. So actually in the current settings, there's already some kind of clinical trial happening in the past many years. So those are actually done with the two teaching hospitals in PWH, Prince of Wales, and also Queen Mary hospitals. So they are actually collaborating with Hong Kong U and CU mostly. And then in recent years, I think because of the government policy, so there are also more clinical trial we do in the Children's Hospital, and also we are setting up a new acute hospital future. So there will be more of this clinical trial. HA will definitely support more. So technically speaking, I mean, these are more like a localized research among different hospitals, and their data set is actually retained within that hospital settings. Maybe from that clinician, you can actually able to identify my patient cohort, and then based on that, you can actually start to the recruitment process, getting patient consensus, and start the clinical trial journey, right, a small scale. But I think in terms of technical wise, I mean, I'm from IT, right, so I don't technically, you can easily write a program or even AI to identify those patients in a different cohort, especially for those chronic disease patients, because we do have 30s of data, and we also have longitudinal data so that we know how they actually take the drugs and how that influence the change of their healthcare. I think the key thing is, okay, this is step one, right? You can identify the cohort from 30 years of data or the hospital 43. The step two is how do you recruit them? I mean, this is actually related to some ethics and also some patient consent arrangement. Because if you have one doctor to one patient, you can actually talk to them and say, oh, are you interested? But if you have like the whole cohort, 5,000 patients, how do you start recruiting and get consensus? For example, diabetes, right? And if you start to contact them in a different settings, not from clinical settings, they will say, how can you know actually I'm diabetes? So they would arise some interest or concern about patient privacy. So I think from that perspective, we need to see how we can tackle this kind of propagation, and also patient education, because this is still a new idea for Hong Kong citizens. I think we need to have some centralized mechanism to not look at just the data-wise, but look at the process, how we actually, if we have many of these organizations to come up, pharmaceutical company come to Hong Kong to try to do this research, and this is what we want to see happen, right? We want to see what the mechanism we should like screen them or prioritize, and then work with HA, and also how we deal with legally, how we do promulgation, how we recruit those patients, both healthy and unhealthy, because HA has unhealthy patient, but we may need to have healthy patient to do a control sample, right? So all these require some dedication and focus so that we can set up this type of institution to focus on biotechnical clinical trial research and work with HA and also different parties, also expertise from university, and then they can actually come up with a process, legal framework, ethics committee support, and then also after the clinical trial, there are also some after clinical trial process that you need to formulate. So with this, I think that will be quite successful in terms of taking this forward. This is just, I think, the first beginning. So the last two or 3 months, there are so many now meetings to talk about how we can take this forward. I think this is a good start for Hong Kong and also for Hong Kong citizens as healthcare patients.
Thank you, Dennis, for explaining both from a technical and a process and an ethical standpoint. Thank you. And now I turn to Professor Joseph Wu, who is the Managing Director of Laboratory of Data Discovery for Health, D²4H. So Professor Wu, I know you have, your laboratory have a track record of working with the hospital authority, producing a lot of very great insights and publications. Can you please tell me a little bit more about your approach to collaborating with hospital authority and also the industry as well? Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So maybe a brief introduction of what our lab is about. So D²4H is one of the 28 Hong Kong lab funded by the Innovation and Technology Commissions at the Hong Kong government, operated by faculty members from Hong Kong U Medicine. Our founding director was Professor Gabriel Leung, Dean of Medicine, who has left Hong Kong U last year and is now the executive director for charity at the Jockey Club. Since he left, he passed the managing director role to me. Both of us are from the School of Public Health, so our approach is very much from the public health perspective. We also have colleagues from pharmacology and also biomedical sciences. So our philosophy is that in order to work with institutions, large institutions such as the hospital authority, who manage a lot of patient data, the basis is trust and understanding of priorities and constraints in each party. Not just between our lab and HA, but also the public. Gaining public trust, gaining support is very important. So we have had the privilege to work with HA in the past few years, especially on COVID. For example, one of our scientific leads, Professor Ian Wong, who is the head of pharmacology at Hong Kong U, has been conducting the safety and effectiveness of pharmacovigilance for COVID vaccines since they first became available in 2021. And as many of you might know, that collaboration has generated very important information, intelligence for the government to monitor safety and effectiveness of COVID vaccines. For example, one of the adverse events following immunization for the Sinovac vaccine, it's called Bell's palsy, was discovered by Ian's team and was subsequently included in the label, in the vaccine label of Sinovac, which helped the government to, for example, gather the evidence base for what constitute, reasonable or, legal compensation for patients who suffer from adverse events following immunization. More recently, we have been working with the dentist group at HAIT and also the Chief Pharmacist Office at HA to build a chatbot on pharmacy. So it's a very simple concept because HA already maintains a comprehensive drug database on indication, dosage, storage, side effects, etc. Our idea is very simple. It's just to, so-called democratize this information so that people, especially elderly people, who are not very well versed in technology and might not be comfortable, inputting text or browsing the internet, searching databases for such information, build a very intuitive interface, a chatbot, so that they can, submit their query through images or even voice to extract simple information like what is this drug about, what is the dosage, how should I store it, I'm having such conditions after taking the drug, is this normal or not? So that kind of thing. And our approach, as mentioned before, is to gain trust among different parties. And the project that I just mentioned falls into the kind of level 1 of data protection in the IQVIA presentation. So no patient data, aggregated level, which is the minimal level of data privacy issues. So through that, we hope that if successful, which I hope it will be, we should be signing an MOU in the coming months. That will establish the trust between both parties, and after rolling this tool out into the public, if the public finds this useful, then we can also build trust, gain support from the public that indeed, having commercial partners to work with HK data or data assets is a good idea for public, not just for commercialization. So that's all I would like to share with you today. Passing back to you, Chantel.
Thank you so much for explaining how trust is fundamental in this collaboration, especially getting the trust from the public. And now I turn the mic to Crystal. So Dr. Crystal Fork is the director of STP platform at Hong Kong Science Technology Park. So Crystal, we know that STP platform aims to establish data collaboration across different sectors. Could you share with us some examples and lessons learned in both the health and other sectors where, how do you facilitate data collaboration and how those collaborations eventually lead to innovation?
Yeah, sure. So in the previous panel that already announced that HK is going or already launching the data sharing with industry for R&D. So I think it is a good great step, really, to encourage data collaboration. But more importantly is an announcement 5 days ago from OGCI as well as the CAC in China that the cross-boundary data is coming. So it's the first step that cross-boundary data is going to be realized with the format of standard contract. So I believe that especially for the theme today, data openness, it is going to open up. But how to make it happen is quite difficult, as Dennis mentioned. The process or even how that we structure the data itself is not easy to go. So I believe that since we are going to already promoting the cross-industry data collaboration, what we are looking into is the whole patient journey. Yeah, because during the R&D, we may look at the clinical trial data, but what if a new product already launched? What we would like to know is the whole patient journey, how it works, and how the patient is feedbacking to the new system or new treatment. All these, the data just don't stick within one entity. The data actually crossing multiple entity or even multiple boundary. So in that case, openness is the key. But in order to open, trust is the key. So I believe that in order to build trust, policy and regulation is the first thing that we have to get in place, because it provides confidence, since we believe that the regulatory or the government is protecting the privacy of the data provider. So the data provider should not be HA. The data provider is actually the patient themselves. So if there's no trust among us, how that you will open up your data to other party? And secondly, how that we can protect it just not by law, it's by technology. So we got plenty of new technology already come up, like the federated learning or other kind of blockchain, something like that. The data could be tokenized and even hashed without really releasing the privacy of the data itself. But education is how that we could deliver all this knowledge to even the general public. It's not just for our IT experts. It's actually how we deliver all this message to the public that they already trust the system. They trust that once they are going to open up their data, they are building good for the society. So that's why we set up the data community, not only focused in health, but health within the whole patient journey. So imagine that you're a patient. Of course, you would like to look for a new drug. You would like to look for a new treatment, but you are also looking for insurance because you have to pay for it. Yeah, so all this data is just about you. And if you are going to allow the, offer the consent for such kind of data collaboration, hopefully the final beneficial will be all of us.
Thank you, Crystal. Yes, the new the declaration for the cross-border data is really exciting. And also thank you for explaining the privacy computing. I think yeah, the public has not come to awareness of most of the public yet, and please keep on educating the public. Thank you, Crystal. Now I have a question coming back to Dennis. So I think in the previous panel, Dr. Guang also mentioned about the AI lab and how you have done a lot of work in terms of incubating and adopting external digital solutions into the HA to help your professionals and staff. So recently, there's the blueprint, the primary healthcare blueprint was published, and there's a dedicated chapter in that blueprint, chapter 6 of the primary healthcare blueprint, talking about how they utilize eHealth as a platform for external parties, especially the private solution vendors. So today we have entrepreneur here. We also have colleagues from the Primary Health Commission here. So I want to ask you whether you can share your experience of the AI lab. How do you collaborate with these external parties? Any experience you can share with the primary health colleagues. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, happy to share. Actually, we have 3 labs, as previous panelists have said, Dr. Huang. We have something called Innovation Lab. It's set up over 8 to 9 years, talking about introducing some technology into HA, not just AI, but everything. So in IoT, smart device, etc. I think it's actually based on the need, because in order to have HA to sustain healthcare, we need to inject a good dose of technology so that we can actually catch up, the upcoming demand because of aging population, and how we can make the hospital more efficient, and people can actually do self-care management. So that's Innovation Lab. That was 8 to 9 years ago. We also have Data Lab, which is about 6 years ago. We actually collaborate with universities, come up with AI solution. The one that, typical example is the one that Dr. Kwan showed you guys, is the hip fracture, that we provide the image data, and they provide the AI algorithm, and then we work together to make this a doable product. And we also build a platform so that we can, the moment that the patient take an X-ray, then the image will go to AI, and AI will display in the condition result, will be displayed in the condition CMS station. And then we also have AI Lab, which set up 3 years ago, which is also doing the same thing. But our mechanism is similar. So we actually want to adopt more solution from the ecosystem, especially, locally, because it's much easier to deal with a local vendor because it's the geographical situation. We can, do some customization. And then we set up a portal so that we outline what are the demands we have. So these are the business pain point we have. We post on the portal, it's internet. And then the vendor also submit their solution. So we try to do that supply and demand matching using a platform. And that's step 1. So these information will be available for all the parties, all the internet within our HA colleagues. But of course, some of our colleagues are really busy and they may not even have a lot of time to browse through the catalog. The second measure, or second thing we have is actually webinar. So every 2 weeks, we have webinars. Actually, we have also conduct some webinar with Science Park as well. So there's members company, if they are interested, and we can arrange a webinar sessions, and you can introduce your product to our focus webinar session. It's 1 hour session, happen every twice a month, basically. And there will be this kind of, is a more in-depth discussion and introduction of some of the tech product, healthcare products. And then our colleagues can look at it, and if they're interested, through us, we will connect the healthcare tech vendors together. And we'll do a POC. Now, the POC is actually mostly will be done in our Innovation Lab, because we have designated scientific environment with our testing CMS station, testing arrangement, so that people can do some testing, make sure that this POC works. Because in HA service, we are pretty, risk-averse, make sure that this product actually works before we deploy on clinical service. And then if this product is deemed to be okay, then we actually do a pilot in the hospital. Then if that product is deemed to be quite okay, then outcome and benefit will also promulgate back to a more wider audience, to all 43 hospitals. And this hospital will start, wow, this thing really works for hospital A, I really want to try it. And then they would start contacting vendors and do this, proper process of course, procurement, etc. But at least these are the funnel that we call innovation funnel, from introduction to trial to pilot, and then we can roll out to all hospitals. So these are the mechanisms we use for HA for many years, and it has been quite successful. Many local and also international vendors has introduced a solution to our HA, and in fact, actually, it does help HA service. So it's also a win-win situation.
Thank you very much. I think we still have time, right, for this panel. And if that's the case, I want to open the floor for questions. If no more questions, then thank you very much. We come to the next panel. Thank you. Thank you. Take a picture together. Yes, yes. Just one picture together.
And thank you so much, to our very distinguished panelists for joining here today. Well, for this last, very important session as well, we would like to explore some of the topics on some of the key infrastructure and incentives. But, in order to talk about, infrastructure and incentive, we first have to really start with a slightly broader tone on what are the gaps in the current ecosystem, what other experiences can we leverage on from other places, and eventually, what are the key, targets, enterprises, talents that we want to supplement the ecosystem here in Hong Kong. So that's how I imagine the flow to be like today. So actually, I would like to start with Simon for my first question. I know you helped as a biotech entrepreneur, as an investor. You actually helped a lot of healthcare, pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, in your work. So from your perspective, what do you see as our competitive edge in terms of our, let's say, division of labor, or in terms of what Hong Kong can do in terms of the whole biotech value chain? How are we positioned, and any specific areas that you think we should be really targeting or focusing to improve on?
It's already on?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Victor, for having me. My name is Simon Song. I'm the founder of Ori Capital, which is a venture capital investment entity that deploys capital to early stage biotech companies globally. So again, thank you for having me. In terms of the infrastructure, we look at Hong Kong Science Park. I've been to many biotech hubs around the world: Shanghai, Beijing, Basel, Boston, and the Bay Area. In terms of having a government-led translational center, I think Hong Kong has done this enough. It is beautiful, off scale. It is stunning. That when I, bring the large farmers, BDs, or early research program directors to Hong Kong, they derive the same comments. It's stunning. It's of the scale and quality. I even took the time to visit the biosample banks. Everything that Hong Kong can deliver is always of the top quality. That makes us really proud. But infrastructure alone doesn't lead to the end of this, doesn't lead to success, because technologies will not walk out the lab to translate themselves. The infrastructure includes funding and people who will create a innovative therapeutic or device. So if I'm given this podium, I would repeat what I have been saying. I may sound like a broken record because I said it several times. There's still works that need to be done in order to bring out in order to cultivate a translational community, investing community, in order to connect with the physical infrastructure. I think Science Park has done a lot, in addition to having the physical infrastructure. But if we look at from a holistic point of view, I think starting from the very senior, this I appeal to the government and government-funded universities to foster translational research and results. For example, in the U.S. there is a policy bureau called OSTP, Office of Science and Technology Policy. This OSTP is led by experts. They're not just bureaucrats; they're experts. So the how to foster an industry has input from the experts, the OSTP. And also from the, in addition to the very strategic directions, the fundings going to university hopefully will also be allocated not only to basic research, but also to translational research. The criteria of UGC perhaps needs to be designed again to favor translational research. And also in the point of cultivating and investing community, Hong Kong's budget should have a healthy allocation to any of the industry that the government or the city wants to foster. And biotech or healthcare should be one of them. And the government can act as a fund of fund to foster a VC community, because if we look at the success examples of the U.S., almost every successful venture capitalist incubate every company. They do not invest into other companies. They incubate every single company. They has taken on the daunting responsibility of creating companies by marrying the scientific merits with management expertise. So fostering, from a government point of view, fostering and investing VC community is very, very important. By having a robust investing community, you will have company creations. You will have newly created companies that have a high chance to survive, because VCs would have to combine scientific merits with business acumen. And this is the, from a cascading point of view, and also from a policy point of view, I think Hong Kong has done a lot. I'm so surprised to see that Hong Kong government has set the vision to at one day become a primary reviewer. And the first step was come from being part of the ICH, from observer being. So these are all the infrastructures. And the last, not the least, is that perhaps the government can also consider giving clinical subsidies, the same way as Australian government is doing, granting subsidies to companies who embark on clinical trainings in Australia, and Hong Kong can do the same. So these are my general thoughts in filling the so-called deficiency.
Thank you, Simone. Thanks for bringing out the various very important topics, from connecting with physical infrastructure to the strategic leadership and funding of the government, as well as how they incubate new biotech companies as well. With that note, I want to bring the floor to Reza on screen, actually, because we heard that you have done a report with Hong Kong Science Park, and you have studied extensively about Hong Kong's biotech ecosystem. So what are the advantages, or what are the challenges that you see? Does some of your observations connect with what Simone mentioned just now about for example, some infrastructure gaps, and how do we solve those problems?
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. So thanks for giving me the chance to share my views. Of course, I agree with all the things that Simone is sharing with us. To put a bit of flavor, so a couple of months ago, I worked on the report. So I've been in Hong Kong for 13 years, and especially working in the helping companies, helping also some of the institutions really on the biotech side. Very interestingly, what we had to look was to compare, a bit like Simone was mentioning, compare really, I would say, what really makes Hong Kong special when we compare that to other places in the world. So we have to always be humble and look at what's best in class. So in the US, obviously, the Bay Area, Boston, Cambridge, and also Shanghai, Suzhou, and also Singapore. What really I would say makes the difference is the ecosystem. So you have the capital markets, which is already something which is extremely strong for Hong Kong. You have all heard about Chapter 18 and the many IPOs that have been flourishing in Hong Kong. Of course, there are cycles, so some of them, I would say maybe a couple of the last quarter have been slowing down, but I really believe it's an impressive trend that will continue. Really what would make the difference is to have more and more investors like Simon, like Nisa, will really make a difference because they really know biotechnology. Not only biotechnology, but biomedical. And beyond that, really have, I would say, this growing and ecosystem to really help entrepreneurs and mentor them. In terms of comparing infrastructures, I would really say that Hong Kong really is top-notch. There is nothing to be shy when we compare to other places. We've always heard a bit about the rivalry in the region with other places like Singapore, but when we really look at the developments, it's pretty impressive to see that in such a very short time, we've gone beyond capital, beyond funding, to really now policies to attract companies. This is really something which is extremely important with agencies like, for example, Oasis, etc., just to name a few of them, of course, Invest Hong Kong, to really make sure that we have partnerships. If my memory is correct, I don't have all the numbers, but the announcement from Mr. Paul Chan were that we are attracting around 30 companies, something with potential to create 10,000 jobs. I think that's massive, and this is really what is important, is to create jobs, to attract talent, because that's one of the points I also wanted to share, which is that without talent, it's very difficult to grow that ecosystem. So first, it's the job creation, but it's also this nurturing of the company's ecosystem with startups to really bring new skills. So I would just take one example, which is if we talk, for example, about cell and gene therapies, or just that one as an example. Of course, you have the role of the universities, which are really, in Hong Kong, again, best in class. But it's really to maintain that advance and really to make sure that we have the links with the companies, which is important. So really creating this ongoing upskilling of the workforce to really make sure that people are there, they learn, they grow. That's how we're going to make sure that we create the next champions for Hong Kong, not only to be successful on IPOs, but also to bring drugs to Greater Bay Area, China, and to the world.
Thanks, Martha. Well, I was thinking who to ask next, and then I heard you mention Invest Hong Kong, so I'm going to ask Josephine. So, well, actually, you know, we all mentioned about attracting enterprises, attracting talent. So can you share some of the work that you have been doing on advanced therapeutics, which you are, you know, obviously managing? And, you know, what are some of the common challenges that you see when you try to get them to come to Hong Kong? You know, what are the challenges that they cite in terms of infrastructure, talents, or anything else?
Thanks for the question. In this Invest Hong Kong meets with many biotech companies from mainland and overseas. They are interested to Hong Kong mainly because of three reasons. Hong Kong is an international city, and because of the great opportunity in mainland China, and also because of the clear commitment of our government to develop Hong Kong into an international innovation and technology hub. So what clients are specifically looking for is to understand the strategic position and the opportunities in Hong Kong if they come to Hong Kong and to set up their operation. And they also want to see how can they leverage on the Hong Kong government support on funding, policy, and infrastructure to further develop their company and technology we have lots of funding and infrastructure, but we can't only say, oh, we give you 6 million Hong Kong dollars and then you come. They want to see how they can use that 6 million Hong Kong dollars funding support to further develop their company. So we always tell the company and our clients, Hong Kong have 5 universities that are ranked global top 100s, including 2 well-known medical schools, incubating lots of homegrown medical and scientists. We also welcome scientists from the top World 100 University to make use of the Top Talent Pass scheme to chart their careers in Hong Kong. So far, more than 75,000 applications have been approved. So we have high quality and passionate scientists in Hong Kong to generate innovative ideas in Hong Kong. But how to translate research idea into innovation is essential, as just Simone and Risa mentioned. So the Hong Kong government also have set aside 10 billion Hong Kong dollar to set up the research, academic and institute sectors 1+ scheme to accelerate the transformation and commercialization of R&D outcomes, particularly through the industrial partnerships. So the Hong Kong government is also putting lots of effort to directly invest into the innovative company, like we have the Strategic Tech Fund and also GBA Investment Fund and Co-Investment Fund. All we want to see is to bring the international collaboration and investor to make Hong Kong into an ideal platform for industrialization and commercialization. So what we need to do is to, as Reza just mentioned, we need to make more champions in Hong Kong so that we can showcase to the innovative companies all around the world and in mainland China to attract them to Hong Kong and to make a bigger ecosystem, to make them to see that there are lots of opportunity in Hong Kong. And also our government is very supportive on the policy and also on the infrastructure and also on funding, so they have confidence to see the future development of their company.
Thanks, Josephine. Well, last I want to bring the attention to Chang. We know you have very extensive experiences in Singapore, and we just mentioned a lot about building ecosystem, helping companies grow, like what Josephine was saying. What can we take a leaf out of Singapore's book, because they went through a very similar journey, right, building up their primary review system, helping biotech companies grow. What can we learn from the experience?
Sure, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. I am Chang Liu. I'm the founder of Ask House Asia. So we're a Singapore headquartered Asia company, think tank, consulting, and venture builder only in life science. I moved to Singapore about 10 years ago, and in the last 6 years, we worked quite closely with EDB in Singapore in the life science ecosystem, especially the bridging between cross-regional Greater China to Southeast Asia, etc. So I think maybe just starting with a few figures, what's now in Singapore in life science, right? I think I checked the recent data. I think there are about 25,000 full-time employees in life science industry in Singapore currently. I don't know what's the figure now in Hong Kong, which is, I think, less than 1% of total employment manpower in Singapore. But the sector currently contributes to about 4% of the Singapore national GDP. So I think those two then become the core measure for the government in tracking, okay, how many talents are really retaining and capturing in the city or in the country, and how many GDP contribution it is through all the activities we see, right? The R&D, the commercialization, and manufacturing, etc. So I think that's one figure we can look at. But this result really have been has took a 30-year journey. I think Singapore started heavily, systematically building the sector for 30 years, and there's a lot of lessons that I think they learned through the process. And also, even for the infrastructure, which we were discussing, the Biopolis building is already, I think, phase 7 or something. So over 20 years of infrastructure development and talent acquisition. So I think it's not an easy win, and it's still, I think, an ongoing process. So that's sort of what's the situation in Singapore now. I think it's going to be, I suggest it's very useful to just comparing those two figures and keep measuring, right, how Hong Kong is doing versus some other places in the region. So I think the core of this session today is about the positioning of the value positioning of Hong Kong for the industry. Right? I think that's when we were working with Singapore EDB, really looking at, so we, for instance, we go to the top 100 Chinese leading biotechs in helping them understanding the opportunity for them in Southeast Asia and what they can do in Singapore. So then what they do is really carefully map out all the activities from downstream to upstream in where the value proposition can be that really offer core commercial value for those industry leaders. Maybe it's from backwards, starting from commercialization to manufacturing to clinical research and then to R&D, right? I think for commercial, so maybe we can just go one by one, comparing Hong Kong and Singapore. So for commercialization, I think now the positioning as a regional APAC hub is really weakened for Hong Kong, while become stronger in Singapore, right? I think currently, for instance, it's very obvious all the top multinationals, MNCs, their Hong Kong regional office is now becoming part of Greater China office. This month, Pfizer merged their Hong Kong office to Greater China. I think over the last year or two, about 80% now, the top MNCs have Hong Kong, Macau office reporting to mainland. So Hong Kong will not gonna be the positioning as a regional headquarter for APAC anymore. It's gonna be part of the Greater China office. Right? This is really due to the global geopolitics. So I think that's where Singapore now is strategically positioning themselves to be still that go-to hub for MNCs for the out of China APAC office headquarters. Well, I think that's not the position for Hong Kong, but there might be position for Hong Kong to be either Chinese leading biotech or biopharma globalization first hub, right, as the commercial headquarters for them going global, or for like smaller biotech who are interested in Greater China, maybe Hong Kong can be a lower hanging fruit before they really set up their operation in China. So I think that some kind of analysis will be useful to see, for instance, in setting up commercial headquarters, what Hong Kong's really best positioning can be for the industry leaders. About manufacturing, I feel I don't understand enough on Hong Kong, but what I heard from industry is going to be very expensive here. Well, in Singapore, actually, this contributing to more than half of the GDP that coming from biotech, right? So they really also leveraging that global positioning. Now, why all the CDMOs and all that, because of geopolitical reason, they have to position their manufacturing site in Singapore to be able to sort of resist the potential future conflicts globally. But also, I think what Singapore government has been doing great is not only in Singapore, but also in the surrounding country, they heavily invested in the manufacturing industry parks in Malaysia, Indonesia. So anyone go to there to look for manufacturing opportunities, they can win from Singapore if they're building a manufacturing site, or they also get a benefit in investing in the manufacturing site in Malaysia or Indonesia. I think similar things Hong Kong might be able to planning in building that manufacturing network in the whole GBA area, especially leveraging how much sort of development now, especially in Guangdong province. For clinical research, Singapore is really trying, but I know the regulatory front in Singapore, to be honest, is already more developed in Hong Kong. We have the highest level of approval from WHO in terms of HSA's approval capability. But that's still not yet attractive enough for industry to conduct clinical trials in Singapore. So after many years, they then turn into building a clinical trial network. So really having the core PIs in Singapore to try their best to build networks in the whole Southeast Asia region. Then they at least have some role in leading some of the clinical trials, rather than really attracting, okay, do all the clinical trials here in Singapore, which might not be cost effective to industry. I think same thing in Hong Kong. We heard for instance, while we're planning for the Hong Kong version of Hong Kong FDA, so we say, okay, if you do the clinical trial here, there might be able to accelerating approval in Hong Kong, hence going through 港澳药协通 to go to GBA. But that analysis is not correct, because there's other pathway to go through 港澳药协通 to GBA through Macau, right? You don't need to do any clinical trials here in Hong Kong. You can get 2 months approval in Macau and then go to GBA. So that's really not make sense that assumption doesn't make sense from industry perspective. So then where we can really make a business case to attract people to include Hong Kong, at least in their clinical trial capability. And lastly is on R&D. So I think in Singapore, really, there are certainly a very critical mass of talents in scientists and et cetera, really building towards from industry partnerships initially. I think last 20 years, there are waves of industry joint labs building in Singapore. That's really building the critical mass. But still, over the last 20 years, the real tech transfer, the big unicorns originally grew in Singapore, is still quite limited. So we need to understand how difficult will be and how big a funnel it really needed, like comparing to Boston, et cetera, to be able to generate original great breakthrough innovation, right? So I think I really agree with Hong Kong's approach in now working closely with the industry leaders. I'm happy that AstraZeneca, for instance, is the first one building that joint labs here, but I think it's really necessary, right, to not only bet on ourselves, but really facilitating cross-border and industry cooperation. I think now we can really take advantage of all the leading Chinese biotechs they need to go out, and then maybe they can come here to partner with our scientists and et cetera, enhancing their research capability. So those are my sharing.
Thanks for sharing. Well, 25,000 employees. I think we have if we count all of Science Park, we have a higher number than that. But in life science in particular, I'm not so sure what the exact number is. And in terms, couple of thousand, okay. And in terms of percentage of GDP, we are nowhere near that, I'm sure. So a lot to work on, clearly. But one of the points you mentioned that I found interesting is manufacturing, because you mentioned that manufacturing capability, well, for Hong Kong, maybe also leveraging Greater Bay Area. Is that building that capacity? Well, I want to ask Josephine on this actually. Is building that manufacturing capability or that regional collaboration part of the focus when Invest Hong Kong seeks to, supplement the ecosystem by attracting these enterprises to fill in the ecosystem gaps?
Yeah, indeed, I was frequently asked by clients, what do the Hong Kong government would like to see the biotech companies come to Hong Kong? What we want them to set up in Hong Kong it must be manufacturing. Indeed, for the whole ecosystem, we want to have an end-to-end complete ecosystem to have the whole chain in our ecosystem, from the R&D to clinical research to manufacturing. But at the same time, we understand that Hong Kong is a very small city. We're just a city. We are too small to do all of the things on our own. So as your question suggests, we need collaboration. We need our GBA, the area with our neighboring cities to create the synergy. With the GBA, we have the population and GDP more than Europe, so we need the collaboration. And what our focus in Hong Kong is not general manufacturing. We can't say that we build a factory in Hong Kong to mass produce a product. It's not going to work in Hong Kong, and it's not at the position of Hong Kong. What we need to do is advanced manufacturing. I just met an executive from a medical device company from the US, which is a very established one. And that executive come to Hong Kong, and then we have a discussion. Indeed, she has a very good vision, because what she explained what she's doing is she can find out some basic research technology, which people say is have no use, but she can translate this technology into several applications in her medical devices. And this kind of technology is what we wanted. And in our discussion, we want to attract her to Hong Kong. The main purpose is we want to attract her to Hong Kong to include the local ingredients. For example, for medical device, in different countries, we have different demand for our specific population. So we want to attract the big overseas company, they have the experience, they have the vision to translate the basic research into application. We want to attract her to Hong Kong, and then what she can do is to optimize her device according to our local demand and our local population. And then she can also do some small advanced manufacturing in Hong Kong. The mass production, the main core of the device will be in US, and then she can leverage the advantages of Hong Kong, the advanced manufacturing, our support from the government, and our free trade policy, and also our logistics, because our logistics is very good service and very comprehensive in Hong Kong. She can leverage all of this advantage in Hong Kong and then to develop her product. So we don't say, we want to have manufacturing in Hong Kong, but we are targeting to the advanced manufacturing rather than the general manufacturing.
I see, thanks for that. Another thing that you mentioned, which is, I think I heard the word translational research and commercialization from everybody here today. So I want to delve in that a little bit further. But one of the things is, you know, how we, Josephine, you also mentioned how we create that more success case in Hong Kong, that, you know, a success growth story in Hong Kong. And that's one area that I would like to bring to Simone, because that's your expertise in grooming, you know, companies and making them successful, really. And maybe also Raza, you know, you also spoke about that. So that how do we create more successful cases in Hong Kong?
Okay, so, you know, I heard a lot about Hong Kong, what Hong Kong can do, how can we make Hong Kong biotech companies strong. I think if we look at the biotech value chain, it's very long, but what Hong Kong wants to do, what makes a company strong, is to capture the most valuable part of the value chain. And although Hong Kong may not be the regional center of large farmers, but that accounts for a very small, teeny bit part of the value chain. And Hong Kong may not be a CDMO. Again, that accounts for a very small part of the value chain. What is the highest part of the value chain is indeed innovation, the ability to create new therapeutics, the ability to create truly innovative devices, diagnostics, etc., or healthcare IT. I just want to give you two examples. Just last week, Pfizer finally is able to complete a deal to acquire a company called the Seagen. And Pfizer paid $40 billion for a company that only has $2 billion top line. 20 times top line. And the other, recently, AbbVie paid $10 billion to buy a company called Immunogen, and this company has only commercialized in the US for 4 quarters. But AbbVie needs to pay $10 billion. Why? Because it needs the product. The multinational needs truly innovative products. And sorry, Roche, that large pharma's internal R&D, the return on internal R&D has been declining less than 6% or even lower. So there is no choice that multinational, in order to keep up, you know, that kind of top line, it has to acquire mature clinical assets or newly commercialized assets in order to, you know, keep the pipeline going. So now the valuation methodology for example, Immunogen, it only commercialized for 4 quarters, but the valuation is not set on how much Immunogen can sell now. It's decided by the future peak sales times 3 to 4. So the highest value, the part of value chain, is to be able to create potentially blockbusters. Now, Hong Kong doesn't have an ICH yet. Hong Kong is not a primary reviewer. Hong Kong doesn't have CDMO. Can Hong Kong do it? I think yes. And I want to give you another example. A company called Legend, which was established in Nanjing in 2014. And in 2015, Legend, went up above and beyond to create beautiful translational data, animal data, that's eye-catching, high-quality translational data, 1 year, 2015. 2016, it leveraged IT, clinical trial as investigator-initiated trial. The result cannot be used for approval, but nevertheless, you see how technology behaves in human, real human data, 35 patients in 1 year. And then in 2017, the third year into creation of the company, the founder took his data to ESCO and created a big splash. 50% of the audience thought that the guy was lying. 50% said, oh my God, we better be very, very, this is stunning. And the indication, the technology was a breakthrough at the time. The data was beautiful, and the indication had a big market impact. So the founder was abducted, quote unquote, from from ESCO straight to J&J's headquarters. That is the middle of 2017. The company was created in 2014. At the end of 2017, a deal was announced whereby J&J had to pay $350 million upfront to get the ex-China global rights. And J&J will share 50% of the commercial value with Legend, and 30% in China, 30% goes to Legend, 30% goes to J&J, goes to Legend. So that a deal was reached in 2017. Remember, the company hasn't really gone through any approvable clinical trial yet. The fruits, the results that has landed the J&J deal is translational results plus IIT data. And in 2018, IND were obtained both in the US and in China. And in 2020, Legend Bio went public in the US at the valuation of $2.9 billion on the back of phase 1 data. And in 2022, the drug is approved in the US. And the doctor's adoption was very promising. We're looking at 1 billion sales in the US next year. And looking at the Legend today, the market cap is $9 billion, $9 billion. And it doesn't have to spend, any money in commercialization because J&J is doing all the work. It gets to share 50%. The reason that the market cap went up from 2.9 billion to $9 billion is because the investing community believes that currently Legend's drug is third line in BCMA targeted multiple myeloma. It will move up to potentially second line, even first line. And Legend has, again, advanced from liquid tumor to start tackling solid tumor. So Legend essentially is a translational rich company. It successfully finds itself a clinical and commercialization partner. So if Legend Nanjing can do it, Hong Kong can do it too. Hong Kong's strength is its translational ability. Look at what we have here. We may only have 2,000, but we could have more. All you need is 50 good ones. So if, we talk about attracting Roche, AstraZeneca, other foreign entities, I think there is an order of progression. Unless we produce our local champions, unless we have that, if we have that, they will all come knock on our doors.
Russell, do you have any comment on that front?
I'm not going to paraphrase Simon. I think what really we should really take is that really shows the power of sophisticated investors like Simon, and really we can see it because to be able to help those companies, you really need to also be mentoring those companies to grow out of Hong Kong. It's not just about funding. It's really being there to really also help them. We mentioned ASCO, etc. So this is really clearly where you can make a difference by showcasing the success of entrepreneurs. What I would really add as a pinch of salt is, because we heard a lot about other places, we have to be really proud of Hong Kong. And really in the sense that I'm not trying to just say it for words, but when we did a study, what was interesting is we really tried to put ourselves in the shoes of entrepreneurs, really from a perspective like a consumer, to really see if the job done by all the ecosystem in Hong Kong was a bit like entrepreneur-centric, may I say, instead of customer-centric. So going one step further, what we tried to do was to take a set of objective criteria and then to compare that to perception. Because this is really important, because in the end, that's also important to really be managing the expectation of those entrepreneurs. So the interesting facts, and I'm not going to go into detail of the pillars we tested, but what was really striking was on most of these dimensions, on an objective, I would say, a set of criteria, KPIs basically, Hong Kong was systematically in the top. But when we really looked at the perception, that's where we had a gap. And I think as a group here, it's a question on how we can really try to basically close that, narrow down that gap. And because somebody mentioned Singapore has been investing 20 years. I was studying in Singapore at INSEAD 20 years ago, it's true. At that time, the biomedical was very tiny. So that really required commitment, investment. And what I see today is that commitment from Hong Kong is there. And it's not just financial again, it's really that ecosystem with all the agencies, the government, institutions like Hong Kong Science Park. And this is what's gonna make it future-proof to also be able to bring innovation, like Simon said. Last point, which really is key to me, is that Hong Kong is a great platform to protect IP. Let's not forget that. This is a tremendous place where we can really have reassure all the foreign companies, not only big companies, but also entrepreneurs, that they can come here to build the new generation of drugs, cell and gene therapies. There is so much to do, and to go a bit beyond oncology, etc. And Hong Kong has a tremendous role to play in that.
I'm very well aware that we are taking up everybody's lunch hour, so I promise you this is my last question. So, anyway, we have mentioned about, Hong Kong has many of the success factors it takes, right? IP, we have a huge space for translational research. We just need that. Well, another aspect that many touched on, but we haven't had a more thorough discussion is on talent. How do we groom more talents to support this whole ecosystem? Well, it's really a question for everyone, but I wanted to start with Chang. What do you see, what has Singapore done in the past to groom the talents, in all the aspects of biotech and translational research? And then I would like to see if anybody has anything to add as well.
Okay, I would be very quick. I also actually appreciate, Simon, your comments on certainly the ultimate and the dream is to build those groundbreaking translational research and all that. But I think that's come with a critical mass in like a big funnel to be able to generate such kind of pipeline. So I think both for economy as well as for the talents, I think having a diversified and multi-dimensional job opportunities, growth opportunities, and all that, etc., is very necessary. So we cannot bet on all 2,000 people or a few thousand people working just for biotechs and wait for it to succeed, right? So that's why I feel what Singapore has been doing is really trying to rigorously building the balance of the A-STAR, the national science sort of research engine, the transfer institutes where the government will pay the jobs, and also the multinationals and local biotechs infrastructure. So all those different varieties of job opportunity and industry created that interconnected ecosystem. Well, the talents can grow, gaining experience from all those perspectives, and then they can grow in this ecosystem as well. Right? I think that's why I feel finding a balanced positioning for Hong Kong, both as maybe the Greater China's globalization regional hub, or Greater Bay Area sort of consortium leader, and etc., plus the R&D local biotech ecosystem, I think will be very, very critical for that talent development and talent pool building. That's from me.
Anyone got anything to add to the talent development perspective?
I think in Hong Kong, we got talents, like all of the panelists in this conference and all of the industrial stakeholders. The problem is we don't have enough talent. Yeah, because as I heard, I work with many stakeholders. They're working very hard. They're working around the clock. That means we have opportunities, but we don't have talent to catch all of the opportunities. That's why we need to attract more talents in Hong Kong. What we need is the executive level talent. The executive scientists, they can have the vision to eye on the potential R&D result and to translate them into innovation and to translate them into something which can monetize. Just like in this, we have good university, and good university produce lots of IP, data, and also lots of design, because they all can learn a lot of money from it. In this, every now and then, I receive a newsletter, for example, from Cambridge. They always announce that how much they earn from their IP, from their know-how, even from their research reagent, and they earn money from that. It's a big proportion of their income. So Cambridge is a very small university city. Hong Kong also have good university, and we want to have more talent in Hong Kong, to attract more talent in Hong Kong, so that our system, our ecosystem can have more activities, just like more licensing in, licensing out, and acquisition. So as Timon said, as we have the ecosystem with activities, more talent and more investor will come to Hong Kong to knock our door.
Great. So with that, let me wrap up. And I would like to thank all the panelists for the valuable inputs, and thank everyone here, really, for sticking with us all the way till the end for 4 full hours. Well, trust me, I know it's not easy. So thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.